Okay, we are going live.
All right.
And I'll tell you in a second when we go. We're live. Hey guys.
Hey guys, everyone.
Yep, welcome back. I'm going to give it just a second to catch up here. 1 second while I monitor the old YouTube. Due to the high quality stream, there is a little bit of a delay. So
That's right.
once we are all caught up and we're sure that everyone's actually watching, then we'll actually say the important stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Just a bit of a lag to get it going, but it is worth the wait, I assure you. Or maybe not. I don't know. You can decide.
It could be.
Oh, I think things are happening.
Things are happening.
And there's an ad.
It's an ad.
As usual.
But that's a good sign
That means
because
it's
it means
working.
that something is happening
That's
besides
that
waiting.
means it is. Hey,
And there we are. Look at us go.
All right, we did it. Sweet.
And there we are in full glory.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Red Dot Forum's Camera Talk. I am David Farkas. With me is Josh Lehrer.
Hey, everybody.
Over there, producing the show is Jose.
Hello, everybody.
And we also have Kirsten kind of hanging out in the chat and getting us some of the questions you guys are sending in.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it takes a big team to do this.
That's right.
And we're doing it all for you. So what are we covering today, Josh?
Today we are talking about the Leica Q system. That's going to cover the Q, the QP, the Q2, and all of the fun gizmos, gadgets, and accessories that surround it. That is our topic of discussion for today's show.
Yeah, well, we definitely had a lot of requests for
Yes.
doing the Q.
Yes.
So we're like, all right, what's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah, we had two good split sessions on the SL, or the M10 and the SL, and this seems to be the next
Next logical step.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of the part of the Trinity of Leica.
Yeah.
Or the new Trinity.
The current, right, the Trinity now, because 5 years ago,
Wow.
there was no
Nope.
Q system. We
Nope.
take it for granted
Or SL.
now. Or SL. I remember when I started here, we had M and S.
And R a little
A
bit.
little bit of
Little
R,
bit
but
R.
really. And now
Yeah.
look where we are now. We've come so far. So
We have, Leica's come so far.
we've got lots of good questions to start with. We'll be keeping an eye out on the questions as they come in as well. So
Yep.
please
Got the
keep them coming. We
chat
are
up
here to answer them, at least as many as we can.
Yeah. I think before we dive into questions, though,
Yes.
let's just give people, because you mentioned a little bit about the 5 years, but let's
Sure.
just go over a little bit of a primer on kind of where the Q came from, because I don't think you know, people that are new
Yeah.
to Leica may not understand where the Q kind of fits in
Yeah.
and the reason for its introduction. You
Well,
wanna-
yeah, I think really we have to look back to 2009 when the X1 came out, which was their first made in Germany point and shoot, if you will, with a
Right.
large sensor. It had an APS-C sensor.
It was actually the first that anybody made. Leica was the first to that game
Yeah.
of making a larger sensor, like call it, you know, professional capable point and shoot with
Yes,
a really
yes.
high quality lens and a larger sensor.
Yes.
Now we've seen a lot of people kind of
Right.
follow suit to that. Fuji was the first, and then Sony. And,
Yeah,
and
everybody, I think.
everybody
at some
kind of
point, yeah.
came after.
Yeah.
Leica really paved ground with
But at the
X1.
time, right, the idea of a camera with no interchangeable lenses,
Mm-hmm.
in that price point, didn't seem to make sense until you started using it and you realized that it kind of brought the best of the big camera and the
Right,
little camera
right.
together. And that was followed by the X2 and then the X113 and the X Vario
and so on and so forth.
so on and so forth until,
Until
of course, everybody wanted full frame, right?
Well-
when the X came out, it was like, we want full frame.
yeah, but
we
it
want
was
full frame.
when the X came out, it was a fixed like 35 millimeter equivalent, right?
Right,
Okay,
yes, yes.
and a 2.8.
Yes.
So it's 24-2.8 equivalent
Yes.
to a 35-2.8.
yes.
And everyone said, "Oh, I love the size, but can it be a zoom?" And they're like, well, no. First, it was, can it be more resolution?
Yes.
Sure. So we
Yes.
went from the 12 megapixel X1
Yes.
to the
20.
16 megapixel
Yes.
X2.
Yes.
And then, well, great, but it's not a zoom. Okay, so they came out with the X Vario,
Right.
and I said,
Cool camera, yeah.
but that's a 3.5 to 5.6 lens, or 6.3,
Something weird like that.
3.5 to 6.3 lens. And oh, but that's so slow. Like, we need a fast lens. So then they came out with the X113,
Right.
just the X type 113, which was a 35 equivalent f1.7.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, wow, that's awesome. That's exactly what we wanted. But could it be full frame?
It's like never,
Like, and
never
later-
enough.
I mean,
Never
people,
enough.
the engineers in Germany have been like,
I know.
oh my gosh, why can't they be
Yeah.
happy? But they listened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about Leica is when you look at the progression of all the X cameras
Mm-hmm.
and the T cameras and CL cameras and ultimately the Q, where they came to was they kept listening to what Right. People wanted.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is so different than most companies. We're like, this is it. You either take it or leave it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, you know, the Q and now the Q2 and all the iterations of firmware and versions in between really show that Leica is
committed,
and they're interested in feedback. I mean, that's one of the things we like to do is when we do things like this or meet with our friends and customers, we solicit their feedback and we convey that to Leica when we speak with them.
And sometimes they're like, really? People want that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Like, yes, so many people want that
sometimes
thing.
we see it. You know, we can't have it all at once. It takes time. So the Q2, which is now the current model, came out last March 2019, is the ultimate current iteration of Leica's fixed lens, full frame, point and shoot camera, if you will. And
that's stretching the term point and shoot.
Yes, from a technical standpoint, yes, it is. It is a very, very nice made in Germany point and shoot. And it's become, I would consider it a professional tool at this point.
For sure.
Because it's so functional and so capable. And as they've developed the Q line, they developed the SL line kind of in tandem with it. Yeah. We saw the Q and then the SL came.
Yeah, right. So the original Q was launched June 2015.
Yeah.
And then the SL came after that in October of the same year, of 2015. And we saw the same pattern with the Q2, and then the SL2 launched after. The original Q and the original SL share the same, I'm not going to say
core architecture.
They're not exactly the same sensor before you guys go crazy. They're not the same sensor. They're very similar though. They're based on the same architecture.
Yeah.
And then we saw the same exact pattern happen with the Q2 going to 47 megapixel, which was the most of any Leica to date, and then going to a similar resolution, similar kind of sensor architecture in the SL2.
Absolutely.
So that pattern like went from one generation to another, and just like the Q to the SL, a lot of the technology that was introduced in the Q2 made it into the SL2. So it's kind of a natural. But they kept a lot of the things the same that people really like. Yeah. Like the lens. The lens is the same. And a lot of people asked, and I'm not sure if it's coming up in the questions, but a lot of people say, wait, they have a whole new generation camera 5 years later. Why'd they keep the same lens?
Right, yeah. Why not do something different? Yeah.
Something different. Yeah. Well, what would you say to that?
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The reality is that the 2817 balances size with performance. And because you've got the 47 megapixel resolution now, the crop modes or the digital zoom modes, which we'll talk about,
more sense.
Become much more logical. And it's a good lens. It's a good lens. Like, I just don't know how else to put it. It's so effective.
I would disagree with you. It's a great lens.
Oh, look at you. You're so cheeky. You know, it definitely was overqualified for the original Q, that lens.
So you have to imagine when they designed it, they over-designed it to know that something would be coming in the future.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that it could support that architecture.
Now, I think in tonight's broadcast, there's a couple of like sort of overall objectives that we have. We definitely want to make sure that if you have a Q or a QP, we can answer questions about why the Q2 makes sense, how does it compare in both specific and general ways. Or if you've never owned a Q2 or a Q and you have no idea what it is, we'll try to cover some of that. Or if you're, let's say, an M shooter or an SL shooter, is the Q or the Q2 a logical addition to your bag? So we have a lot of questions, and I think we can probably dive.
No, I think we can dive into some questions.
Yeah. Jose, what do you got for me?
Sure. So I think the first question would be more of a general explanation of maybe the differences between the Q and the Q2.
Sure. There's a lot. So there's more than I could do in a whole video, and David did a great video on the Q2
comparison,
which lives on our channel, so it's there. If you want to see it, it's somewhere. You can pull it up while I talk. Obviously, the big headlining change is the new sensor, from 24 megapixels to 47. That's the big one. That has the addition of weather and dust sealing, which the Q did not have. They did remove the USB and HDMI ports for that, so the camera's a little bit more tightened up, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
It does have the additional function button. Now we've gone from 1 to 2, or a 100% increase in function buttons, I guess, on the Q2 as well. Faster overall performance. It's got the modern Leica design interface, which it shares with the SL2, especially after firmware 2.0 came out.
Processor too.
The processor as well. You've got an organic LED viewfinder. So it's the same resolution between the Q and the Q2 of the viewfinder, both 3.68 megapixels, but it's a better panel and it has more eye relief. So it's
OLED versus LCD.
Considerably better than the original Q's viewfinder. Oh, the Q viewfinder is great. it's just better. I mean, it's just put it that way.
It's improved. I mean, that's what they did is like, you know.
You've got the minor but noteworthy locking diopter. So whereas the Q had a little corrective diopter, just kind of a wheel right on the side of the finder, and you could hit it by accident. I've actually seen aftermarket little clips that go over it, so you don't do it. The Q2 has like a push and release locking diopter, so you can't.
Actually, it's really cool. We'll show that a little later.
Yeah, we do some cool close-up stuff. The Q2 is compatible with UHS-2 SD cards, like the SL2 and the top slot on the original
and
SL.
frankly, with 47 megapixel RAW files that are really big, you need the higher speed card. Otherwise, the camera will choke.
Well, when we first got the Q2, I actually clocked it with a UHS-2 card and a non-UHS-2 card. The buffer clears about 55% faster. With, again, same camera, same settings, just
between UHS-1 and
a UHS-1 and UHS-2 card, it's 55% faster time to clear the buffer. So pretty significant.
That is not nothing.
That is not nothing,
significant.
No. So that's, I'm sure I'm missing, there's so much.
Well, here, I'll just show.
Yeah, like improved video performance, right? You got 4K video in the Q2 whereas 1080p on the Q. Jeez. Faster electronic shutter speed. 16,000th on the Q, which is pretty good, to 40,000th on the Q2, which is even better. Hey, there's David.
Yeah, so this is me.
That's not a very flattering.
No. But you can see this is you can look on our channel on Red Dot Forum for the Leica Q2 hands-on overview, and I do go through all of the differences, you know, between the different generations. So I'm kind of hitting some of the high points here, and actually give some close-ups, details of, you know, some of like this is that little the new diopter control switch and things like that.
Yeah, this is a great video. It has a bunch of views on it, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's like 100
look at
something
you.
thousand.
So cool.
I know. I'm super internet famous.
Yeah, so there's a lot of improvements. I think the original Q was so good and so ahead of its time in 2015 that
it was in front of everybody.
It's if you put the Q and the Q2 next to each other, I could pick up the Q2 and still use it really without
the Q1, you mean? Or the
Sorry,
Q2?
I can pick up the Q1, the Q116, the original Q.
The original Q.
I can pick up the original Q and use it pretty readily and not feel like I'm using a 5-year-old camera. The Q2, of course, improves on all that, but it's really a win-win, I think.
The Q, just like the SL601, I mean, Dave, it's funny. We were just talking about this before the stream, like, and Josh was saying, I can't believe it's been 5 years since the camera was introduced. I'm like, yeah, I can't believe that either.
Old.
It's crazy because, like, if I had a 5-year-old computer, well, actually, this is a 5-year-old computer. It feels like a 5-year-old computer, right? This does not feel like a 5-year-old camera. Neither does the original SL. They are as fast today as they were then, which was pretty much instant.
Yeah.
And the low light performance of both cameras is excellent. The EVF experience, touchscreen experience, everything was so, I guess you said, over-engineered then
absolutely.
that it's really stood up the test of time. So a great entry point for so many people is a used Q or a used SL for what, 2,500?
Yeah, give or take for a used Q. Right? Just depends on all the things. But yeah, that's a fair price as of today, whenever we're recording this.
Right. I mean, and that's an insane value for something that actually is so good and has kind of just not held its value, but
I mean, it's done pretty well in 5 years.
It's held its utility.
I mean, it was $4,250 when it was new. Now it's $2,500. So
that's pretty good.
I want to know what other brand came out 5 years ago. What are those things selling for? I didn't want a third or a quarter of their original.
A little less.
So I think,
but it prevents it's maintained its utility and usefulness, and it doesn't. When you pick it up, you're not disappointed to use it. You're excited to use it, and it produces amazing quality. And then what Josh was saying with the added firmware over the years, it just makes it even better with every iteration. And it's not like, you know, a lot of manufacturers will issue firmware updates and fix things or add a couple things early on.
Yeah.
When's the last firmware update for the Q?
Well, like this year, 3.1. But they did 2.0 for the Q in 2016, a year later, and then 3.0 2 years later. And 3.0 was a huge update with like new user profile controls and more things that I can remember. We're talking 3 years after launch. Most manufacturers would have replaced the hardware by then.
Yeah, planned obsolescence.
Exactly, and forced you to buy something new that was marginally better, or maybe just a little bit improved, which they could have done in software anyway.
Yeah.
With the Q, between 2.0 and 3.0 and all the incremental updates in between, it's almost like a new camera. And we just saw 2.0 firmware for the Q2, which I'll mention right now if you own a Q2 and you do not have firmware 2.0 installed,
Get it.
do it. Because you get so many new features. You get the user interface like the SL2 with the touchscreen buttons. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes, it's amazing. So please, please, please. So in like 5 years when the Q3 comes out, if you trade in your Q2 and I see firmware 1.0 on it,
What are you doing?
I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to get mad at you because you didn't watch our live stream where we talked about it. That was a long answer, but there's a lot. There is a lot of differences. But in the end, the core is the same. Full frame, 28mm lens, 1.7, easy to use.
I'm going to recommend, just like in our previous videos, I have all the things in the description below. If you just scroll down below the video, in the description, both in the live feed and also when this is posted for archival purposes, I have links to all of our Q content. I have my original Q review that I did back in 2015. I've got the Q2 video overview. We did a written article that was a kind of a comparison between the original Q and the Q2. Kirsten's great article, the 5 countries, 1 camera, where she traded in an entire M kit for a Q and basically backpacked across Europe, which is a great thing. You'll notice a trend here. If you watched our SL stream that we said how awesome Kirsten was, that she had a really good review on the 35 SL, and she took it canoeing in like the backwoods of Minnesota. So there's a little theme here. She's the adventurer, and she's a great writer and a great photographer. So
you should check it out.
Check her stuff out.
And it's in the comments, right? Or in the description.
Yep, it is all in the description, comments of the video.
Yeah.
Also, I have left Lightroom presets, my Lightroom presets for the Q.
Be more specific. What version of Lightroom are these presets for, please?
They are for the latest generation of Lightroom Classic CC. They do not work in standalone versions of Lightroom like Lightroom 5 or 6. They only work on the Creative Cloud versions, and they don't work on Lightroom CC. They only work on Lightroom Classic CC.
Which is the version you should be using.
You should, because it's the real version, not the light version.
This gentleman bled, sweat, and tears to give you free presets, and all he asks in return is that you use the software.
Just use the software.
That works the best.
That I don't sell.
We have no
software.
vested interest.
I just want you
We both
to
pay for the software, full price, no special anything.
Right. It's worth the $10 a month to have the real thing.
God. Yes, absolutely.
So go ahead, download the presets that I have there. I've actually updated the original Q preset because it is 5 years old.
Yeah.
So I have all the latest tools and additions and algorithms that are in Lightroom now.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave a link for the companion article that I wrote. Because of the overwhelming feedback from you guys, I decided to put all of my presets into one place, going all the way back to the M9. I reprocessed all of them. They're all brought up to current standard. Every camera back to the M9, including the X. I mean, I have the X Vario in there.
It's pretty good.
And I actually went and revisited. It was actually a lot of fun because I revisited all these old files, and some of the stuff even got a lot better, like X Files.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
That's another.
You know what?
That's another live stream.
X Files was always good.
Don't start.
No,
Where's David Duchovny right now?
David Duchovny and Jillian. Okay. But a lot of the cameras got better, so you could even see improved quality from the Q, from when it was first out to now, based on improvements Lightroom's made.
Yeah. So long story short, please
check out the article.
If you have spent
the article,
the money and the time to get a Leica camera, whatever model, you're doing yourself a disservice by not using the latest version of Lightroom.
Yes.
But that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's it.
Yes.
I think that we've only answered one question this entire time. So let's go to another question.
Let's go to the questions.
Yes.
Well, we're still in the same topic.
Okay.
The differences between the two Qs. What about dynamic range and ISO?
Oh, I love this question.
This is great because Josh just tested this.
That's right. In anticipation of getting this question,
we knew this was going to happen.
This afternoon, I was at the store and I did a test. I compared the CL with the 18mm, which we'll talk about later, against the Q, against the Q2. And I tried every single ISO on a tripod and like f8, so there can be no focus, anything. And the scene was basically a dark bookshelf with a bright window in the background. So I could see both noise performance and dynamic range and highlight recovery. And what I discovered, we'll just talk about Q versus Q2. What I discovered was when it comes to dynamic range, the Q2 has about a stop and a half improvement in dynamic range. I mean, the highlight recovery difference was insane in terms of I had a cobblestone sort of street area. One shot, you couldn't even see that they were stones. The other shot, you would know exactly what they were. So that's the first benefit. Obviously, image quality is significantly improved on the Q2. There is, these are sharper, more resolution, etc. high ISO performance is interesting because if you were to just look at those two files zoomed in at the same level, you would say, oh, there's more noise in the Q2 file. And the reality is that the only reason there's more noise is because you're seeing more, because you have more resolution.
95% more.
Exactly. So if I were, and I did this, is I resized a Q2 file to exactly the same size as a Q file, 24 megapixels, because that gives me an actual meritorious comparison against the two. And that's when you start to see the improvements that the Q2 files offer. And what I also noticed was that in playing around in Lightroom, the luminance noise reduction worked better on the Q2 files than it did on the Q file. So even if we say, basic editing gets you a certain point, you could then improve on that even further with a little bit of noise reduction, which I just found that the Q2 files took it better.
And actually I can tell you from working on the presets, the Q2 files actually take both considerable amount of sharpening if you're so inclined, because the pixels are so small. That edge sharpening is basically applied on a much, much smaller area than a larger pixel size image. And in general, higher pixel sensors can take more sharpening than lower pixel sensors, just as a rule.
Yeah.
Because physics, big, small, right?
I don't know.
Big details versus small details. But also, I did notice you can dial in quite a lot of noise reduction into the Q2 files without losing detail.
Yeah.
So that is kind of an interesting thing where if you want to say that it's post-processing and output size equalized, it's not a let's just shoot what we can and get whatever out of both cameras and, oh, this is awful.
Right.
Like, no, it's not, because that's not what you're going to show.
I agree. And I did find the Q2 files to be definitely more malleable, more editable. There was a red shirt, one of our Red Hour shirts, and it was right up against this backlight, and it was basically almost at a gamut on the Q. It was like this blotchy red. On the Q2, it was actually you could see the tonal differences. And it really was against the door in the store, big piece of glass. So it was an interesting test because it allowed me in a real world environment, not a boring test environment, to see and push the camera. And I did a one-stop underexposure as well to see, raising the exposure by a stop, what would happen with the noise. And
how'd the shadows look?
Shadow looked good.
Yeah.
I think that if you're editing correctly, you're going to get those shadows back. If you just kind of throw a brightness slider in some random program, it's not going to work.
Right.
But for me, a judicious combination of the exposure slider and the shadow slider with a little bit of clarity and some darks and some other stuff got me where I wanted to be with the Q2 file. So it's not an apples to apples comparison because the resolution difference is so significant between the two cameras. But the short answer is the Q2 has about a stop and a half of more usable dynamic range. I mean, the specs may say different, but I just did this test like 5 hours ago. So
I trust them.
Yeah, and then I would say equivalent noise performance out of camera, give it equalizing the resolution, and actually better noise performance once you integrate like one of David's presets and then go from there. So that is my take on that.
So probably someone asked this, but I'm just going to ask it.
Sure.
What do you think the top ISO that you'd be comfortable shooting at on the Q2?
That's a good question. I don't have one answer for that because I shot some at 6400, properly exposed, not underexposed, and I was like, these are sweet. I had no issues.
But I would say the original Q, I could easily shoot at 6400, 8000, 10,000, and it's still really good.
Yeah, I think 12.5 is probably near where I would go. I think it depends on, is it a low detail scene where you're not going to worry about high frequency detail that could be fudged up by the noise?
More mood kind of thing?
Right, or are you going to convert to black and white? Similar to any other. I wouldn't have a problem shooting at 12,500. I also, and I say this.
For color though?
Yes.
Okay.
I say this all the time. I will always, always, always take a picture with high ISO grain over a picture that's blurry because you went too low on the ISO and your shutter speed was too slow. That's always.
That's valid.
Yeah.
And of course, if you think that it looks somewhat noisy, because everyone's used to just like click on Lightroom and boom, 100%.
Yeah.
The files are so massive, you have to consider what your output size is.
Exactly.
Are you outputting 6 megapixel to put on the web? Think about the reduction in file size. It's huge.
Yeah, the smaller you go, the better the differences become between the Q and the Q2.
Right, because the noise just disappears.
If you just go on post on Instagram, say, a Q2 file on ISO 50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to look great.
Yeah, I would say 50,000.
It's going to look way better than a Q file because your downsizing is so much more.
Right.
So it's it's an overlooked concept because people, and I've done this too, you just go into Lightroom, you zoom in 100%, you're like, oh, what's going on here? Like,
Pixel
well, wait a
peeping.
minute.
You know, you've heard the term pixel peeping.
Yeah.
Well,
where
you're
is that
looking at the
file going to
pixels,
go?
right.
What am I going to do with it? So yes, I think the Q2.
So unless you're printing it the size of our entire background, and then even then, Josh brought this up in previous sessions.
Yes.
Viewing distance.
Absolutely.
You print really big, you're not going to be standing this close to
yeah.
it. You're going to actually be standing away so you can take in the whole print.
Yeah. There's never a straight answer for how high, like what's the highest ISO that's usable. I mean, it just depends on your tolerance for noise, your subject matter, your intended output, yada, yada, yada. It goes on. I could do a whole video on that. So I would say.
All right, I'm going to go get some dinner.
I'll see you later. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I think that is my answer to that. And I'll probably do
Revisit
a test.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably do a red dot form, something more public. This is just a casual thing, but I'm happy to share those files if someone wants to see them.
It's almost like you wanted to have that information for tonight.
It's almost like I knew this was coming. So that was a good question and a meritorious one. So what's next?
We thought.
All right, let's go to the next one. What is the digital zoom function on the Q and the Q2?
David, you got this.
Okay. Well, the Q, and let me grab a Q2.
You got both. Q2.
Oh, Q2.
Come on.
Where they look so
No,
similar.
not they have different buttons.
It's okay. All right, I'm gonna move these over, reposition the family here. All right. Sorry, just gonna get it clear.
Let me just say, by the way, I know that every time we do our live streams, we always get complaints about the close-up and like takes time. So we are every live stream, we're trying to get better. The close-up thing is really tricky. David's gonna show you this backwards.
Gonna try.
But just know that we see your comments, we appreciate it, and we are working on
it. Here, actually, we set up additional monitors.
Yes,
so
now we've tweaked our setup.
Better living through technology.
Yay! All right, sorry, go ahead.
You know, our rule of thumb is, you know, if you don't get it right, just throw more gear at it.
That's right. It's been working so far.
So I have now introduced 2 more monitors into our setup.
All right.
Why not? All right, so, ooh, look at that. That is a nice close-up. Okay, right over here, this little button right there is going to control your virtual zoom by default. You can actually reprogram this. But by default, and let me turn the camera on. Hopefully there's a battery. There's no SD card, but that's okay. So if I push this button, okay, now you're going to see.
You should put the cap on. It'll be black and I can see it against it.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, so clever.
Yeah.
So clever. Let me straighten that out for you guys. There we go. All right, so I'm going to just jump back. Okay, this is full frame. And yes, we know the lens cap is on. Take off the lens cap. If I push this button once, the one right there, and normally when I'm holding this, it's going to be right on my thumb because you see the groove here? This is a little thumb rest built into the camera. All right, so now if I push that once, you'll see that it's 35mm frame lines. You still see around that. So you're not magnifying the whole image. What you're seeing is crop marks. And instead of 47 megapixel, we're going to get 30 megapixel for 35 equivalent. If I push the button again, we're cropping in now to 50 millimeter equivalent. And now we're dropping from 47 down to 15. It's quite a significant crop from 28 to 50. And then once more, we're at 75. This is a new addition, actually, because the original Q only did 35 and 50 because it didn't have enough resolution to get all the way to 75.
Yeah, it was only 7.5 megapixels at 50 on the original Q, yeah.
Right, so now the 75 equivalent crop is 7 megapixels. So let me just run through these super quick. So,
and you can see, well, you probably can't see, but on the very bottom right corner of each set of frame lines,
right over here.
It actually, no, other side.
Right over here.
Yeah, it's backwards. It actually tells you in a little number what equivalent field of view you're looking at, whether it's 35, 50, or 75, in case you never noticed that.
Yeah, so you can probably see this when you're actually using it, and it's up to your face. But I'm just going to run through this. So now, again, full frame, 28 millimeter.
Yeah, 28, got it, yeah.
47 megapixel. Tap it once, 35 equivalent. And I say equivalent. It's not zooming the lens. It's cropping the image. 30 megapixel. One more time, 50 millimeter, 15 megapixel. Once more after that, 75, 7 megapixel. Now, if you're worried that, oh my gosh, I hit that button by accident and all my pictures are now at 7 megapixel, what did I do? Don't worry, because you're actually getting the full raw file. When you bring this into Lightroom, the crop mark actually is embedded in the metadata of the file, which is pretty cool. And it will pre-crop for you. but if you click the little crop icon in Lightroom, Develop, it actually will show you the crop marks just like this on top of your file. So let's say I have an actual image here. It would actually show you this. I know that's, wow, that is really weird. But that's what it'll actually show you. So you might be hard pressed, to know which is cropped and which isn't. I personally actually use the 35 one quite a lot because for me, I'm really comfortable at 35.
And think about this, you've got 30 megapixels, which is more resolution than you had on the original Q.
I do. So, and that's the thing, right? So the original Q had 24 megapixel. This cropped has 30 megapixel, which is more than what I had on the original Q. So now I can work with that focal length that's comfortable to me because I'm more of a 35 shooter than a 28 shooter. Just how it goes, right? Some people visualize the world differently. Leica designed the 28 for flexibility so you could crop in. Also, this maybe people want to know this or not, but they designed it because guess what focal length this is? The camera that everyone carries around with them. This is a 28 equivalent.
Actually, I just learned, I knew you were going to say this.
Is it 26?
It's 26, yes.
26.
It's 26 millimeters.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Justin, who is an engineer for Apple, who's like, it's 26 millimeters.
I fudged it a little bit, but it's close to 28.
Yes.
It's close.
Yes.
So a lot of people were very familiar with that kind of feel, and that's what Leica wanted to do. They was like, okay, well, this is kind of a whole new generation of photographers who are using their phones. How can we make something, they were almost afraid that if they went to 35 or 50, people would be like, this stinks, it's not wide enough.
You know that if they went to a 35, that to keep it at 1.7, that'd be a bigger lens. Like, it probably would be considerably larger than
It probably would be bigger, yeah.
Too.
Yeah, this is a pretty compact lens.
I see, I'm a 28 shooter, so I see 28. So for me, this was like,
perfect.
This was a dream,
But see, now there's something for both of us.
Exactly, well, that's what the Q2 is so good at because you can crop to 35. You're getting more resolution than you ever got on the Q or the SL. I mean, it's the perfect balance.
Now, I'm going to give one other little thing because somebody's probably wants to know. I kind of wonder this myself, right? So on the SL2, if you go from 35 full frame mode to APS crop mode, and if you joined us last week, you'll know about this. It's a way to basically get a teleconverter on your SL. And on the SL2, you're going from 47 to 20, right? And you get 1.5 longer focal length. But it magnifies in the viewfinder. The Q, you'll notice, does not. As we show here again.
Or the Q or the Q2.
The Q or the Q2.
Yeah, it's the same, yeah.
You'll notice that you have those frame lines. I could just show you one more time, just kind of make sure everybody gets it, right?
Yeah, you got it, yeah.
Now you notice you can see outside of your frame. What's really cool about this, the reason that Leica did this is to model it on the M. And the M, you always see this wide view about 28 millimeter through the viewfinder. A little wider, more like 26.
Yes, that's so funny how that works.
So it's about 26 millimeter equivalent through an M viewfinder with no frame lines. But these look like M projected frame lines for a 35. And that is absolutely 100% on purpose. And what's cool about this, let's say you're using this for street photography. So much in street photography is timing and being able to see an object, like my finger, move just into frame. But I can actually predict its movement because I see it coming into the frame before it's in my frame.
Yeah.
And I think people maybe don't understand that side of it because they look at it as a drawback of how come it's only showing me these marks.
Right.
It's not a mistake.
Right.
Like this is very purposeful.
Yes.
As a throwback to the M.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to forget about that, especially if you've owned a Q2 and never shot with an M camera. So if you've never tried an M camera, you get the chance to use one, pick it up, and you'll look at those frame lines and go, "Oh, that looks
so familiar."
The crop mode on my Q, or my Q2. So there you go. And don't be afraid to try 75. I was at a Porsche event a couple months ago, and I shot with the 75, and it was fine.
Was it?
Yeah, it was pretty cool actually. I was like,
and you still have the full file.
And playback is the cropped view, so you are able to see. You don't get playback with a little box. You do get to see the cropped view. So.
So following up on that,
yes,
is there a difference between using the digital zoom and just cropping in post?
No,
just visualization.
Yeah, if you like to shoot 28, then it doesn't matter. You crop later.
And it's going to save you time in post-processing.
Yeah.
Because remember, that in-camera crop will actually translate in the file metadata, in the raw file, to Lightroom. So when you get all your import in, you're not even going to realize what's been cropped or hasn't been cropped without clicking on each image and saying, go to the crop tool. And then you'll actually see the box. The other benefit is, of course, if you're just like off a little bit on one side, like, oh man, I wish I hadn't cut that. Oh wait, you can move it over.
We should mention that if you shoot JPEG only, which you shouldn't
Oh
do.
yeah, it doesn't.
If you shoot JPEG only, not DNG or DNG
yeah.
plus JPEG, and you have the crop mode engaged or the digital zoom engaged, that's it. The
That's
files
it,
are cropped
yeah.
forever. You can't get that data back. So
It's baked into the file.
yet another reason to shoot DNG, or which is a raw file, and avoid JPEG, at least JPEG only. So
Raw.
good question though. What's next?
Awesome. All right. The next one. As an M shooter, do you see the Q only as a gateway, less expensive camera, or do you see it fit in the same set with the M?
I'm gonna let you take this one.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So I think the Q2 or the Q is a better second body than a second M with a 28 on it, for a lot of people. Here's what
I agree with you.
Yeah.
For the very reasons you're about to say.
Okay. Well, how do you know what I'm going to say? I don't know. So if I have an M with a 50, let's say, and I'm out doing street stuff, doing some portraits, because it's a 50, so I'm taking advantage of the focal length and the compression it gives me. I'm also working generally a bit slower with a 50, even a 35 or a 75 or whatever.
Well, focus has to be a lot more accurate.
Yes.
And it's manual focus.
Absolutely. I'm working a certain way, not a way. I don't want to say M is inherently slower, but I am generally working a little bit slower when I'm working with an M, especially wide open, right? If I'm at f8, it's another story. So if I go out with two M's, an M with a 50 and an M with a 28, I'm operating at the same speed with both cameras, and I'm not giving myself a lot of options. If I go out with an M and a 50 and a Q or a Q2, suddenly I've got a super fast, basically instant camera.
Right.
And my methodical, mechanical rangefinder camera. I have both. One of the cool things that I've seen street photographers do is, because the Q2 especially has the Wi-Fi capability through the FOTOS app, is they can have the Q2 around their body, like kind of pointed out, with the lens pointed out, and they'll have their phone in their hand, and they can see, with the Wi-Fi, they can see the live feed off the camera.
I saw Kirsten do this on the subway. So
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's like a secret. Everyone thinks you're on your phone, but you're taking pictures.
Kirsten and I were at the LHSA spring shoot back, I think, in 2016. We're in New York City. And of course, we're better for street photography than in New York City, right? So we're on the subway, and I'm wondering, because Kirsten's sitting down on the, in the subway car, and she's like on her phone, right? And I'm like, how is she even getting service down
there's
here?
no service
I
down
have
there,
nothing. Like, what is she doing? I look over. She has the camera around her neck, and she is basically shooting pictures on the train and just moving her body around.
And I want to say, you could do this with an M, except the difference is the Q2, you could control the autofocus.
She was just tapping on the screen.
With the touchscreen.
She was using touchscreen
On the
autofocus.
phone. Yeah, on the phone, yeah.
Focusing on whoever on the train and just moving her body as the framing element and watching it on the phone and texting. And she looked to everyone else like every single other person on the train, staring at their phone, typing a message, listening to a podcast, whatever. Nobody had any clue that she took like 50 pictures sitting on the train while we were going between stations.
I think the Q2 is the perfect companion to an M. And David and I were joking about this today or yesterday. This is a 28 Summicron. This is an M lens, a fantastic M lens. This is the second version.
Tell everyone what that means. What does that mean? What does Summicron mean?
F2. This is a
F2.
Leica 28mm f2 lens for the M system. Amazing lens.
Compact.
It is small. It's light. It goes on an M10, on any M camera ever. Fantastic. The thing is, this lens is $48.95. A Q2 is $49.95. So you could have a lens for your M and still working the same manual, mechanical way, which is fine. Or you get your high-speed, sneaky, do-it-all Q2 as your second body. And you get a camera with it. You pay for the lens, you get the camera for free. Is basically the way that and it's actually a couple or maybe a third of a stop faster.
This is like the late night infomercial.
That's right.
You pay for the lens and we throw in the camera.
I mean, it's true though, because if you're a 28 shooter or you want to shoot 28 or even 35 with the Q2, you can have all the sort of emotional feel of an M10 or an M camera because you've got an aperture ring, you've got a shutter speed dial, you've got a mechanical
I'll just turn this one up.
manual focus ring with a tab on it, just like an M camera. So it doesn't feel foreign. It doesn't feel like a foreign object in your hand.
We can take a look at this one right here.
Yeah, can we get the close up going? Yeah, there we go.
You know, so take a look at that.
This is a Q and an M10. There we go.
Yep. So here's.
You want to hold the M10 or?
Yeah. So I'm just going to turn around the M10.
This is an M10P, but
Yeah,
close
you
enough.
can tilt that up.
I got it.
Don't drop it.
There we go.
And if you take a look, there we go. No glare. Now.
Wait.
Nope. Right over here, shutter speed dial.
Yeah.
And there's a shutter speed dial over there, right?
Yeah. Right there.
If you look at the on-off switch on the camera, it's very similar to the on-off switch. Got to tilt it that way a little bit.
Oh, there we go. I got it.
All right. You know, it's really similar. And then look at the lenses. Tilt yours up a little. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
There it is.
Now look, I have an aperture ring.
I have an aperture ring. We all have that. I need 2 hands for this now. So
Everybody
you can see
gets an aperture ring. And look at the focus scale.
There's
Same
so much familiarity here. This is not a mistake. And grab the Q2. Let's look at the back. Let's look at the back. Look at this. Leica even kept the design philosophy on the back of the camera, the 3-button setup. The switch between an M10 and a Q2 and also an SL2, I'll mention, is, I don't want to say seamless, but pretty darn close.
Yeah.
It really is pretty darn close. And so that's important when you're out and about, especially doing street work or fast-paced photography, because you don't want to have to retrain your hands and your brain every time you grab a different body.
And the size too.
Right, look at the side.
They're
Yeah.
really
close.
Really close.
Yeah, if we like kind of put them like this, maybe you can see. Yeah, look at that. That is so cool. So, yes, I think if you're an M shooter, you are missing out by not having a Q2. You are, or even a Q or a Q2, you're missing out because you get a lot of the emotional feel and experience of using an M camera with autofocus, touchscreen, weather sealing, an amazing EVF. We're gonna get into the macro mode later.
Everyone wants to know about the macro mode.
So much cool stuff. Here's another randomly interesting thing before we stop.
Well, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Okay.
Before you get to the next thing.
Well, no, I have a tidbit about these two lenses here.
You talked about the 28 Summicron.
Yes.
But the Q and the Q2 have a 28 1.7.
Yes.
Now that's half a stop, actually slightly more than half a stop faster than an F2.
Yeah.
But that's the same price as this, right?
The 28 Lux is like $7 grand or something insane.
So this lens, this is a 28 1.4 M lens.
Yeah, so nice.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And how much is one of these?
I think it's 7,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's more.
And what I was going to say earlier is just funny that both the 28 Lux, 28-1.4M, and the Q2 28 have a 49 millimeter filter size. I always found that kind of amusing that they're the same filter size. So
I don't think it's an accident.
I don't think so either. I think
nothing's an accident.
So I really believe that, as I've said 50 times already, that the Q2 or the Q,
it's a really good compliment.
It really is a good compliment.
Yeah.
I've also talked to people that have come from M and interchangeable lens cameras and still own them, that like to grab the Q or the Q2 because they don't have to think about anything. What lens am I going to take? What this? What that? They just pull out of the bag and they shoot. And if you want to work fast or if you want to work without being overwrought with technical requirements,
I'll give you another for instance.
Yes, we love for instances.
Here's a for instance. An M camera is great. I love shooting with the M.
Yeah.
Here's what I don't love. I'm with my family on a trip somewhere and I'm taking pictures because I'm not in the pictures, I'm taking all the pictures. And
oh yeah, I know where this is going, yeah.
Right? Now why is that? What did I even go with my family? Why are they wandering around some strange place without me? Because I've had strangers come up to me on many occasions and say, "Hey man, would you want me to shoot your picture?" And I'm like, well,
with an M camera.
I know I'm good, thanks. Don't worry about it. You know, because the reality is if I give him the camera, it's just going to be out of focus. It's just going to be misframed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and give him a 20-minute lesson in rangefinder photography.
Yes, you would. What are you talking about?
I mean, I probably would if they would stand still long enough, but I'm trying to be courteous to everybody involved. I don't want to have the interaction. So what's great about the Q is, and I'm cheating because often if I'm out shooting with the M, my wife has a Q116, an original Q. And I'll say, "Oh, yes. Honey, give me your camera. Here you go. How do I use it? Just push the button."
Yeah.
That's
Done.
it.
Done.
And then we have a picture. And we don't have drama, whatever. Or I can even give my 12-year-old, I can give her the camera, the Q, and she can take great pictures because it's as easy as using her phone.
Yeah.
And she's very well versed in that.
Yeah.
So, but having a 12-year-old, you know, really get the hang of rangefinder photography is not necessarily as easy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think.
So yeah, there's utility.
Right? There's our answer for that question. We're gonna go on.
I like it. I like it.
Good question though. Next one.
All right, so we have some people still asking about the digital zoom.
Okay.
If you're shooting in the digital zoom mode, does the meter only read the cropped area?
No.
The meter is for the full frame.
I will say that in firmware, not 2, I think the one before that, there was an early on bug where the focus point would go outside.
1.1 or 1.2 or
I think it was 1.1. The focus point would go outside the frame lines, and that didn't make sense.
No.
They did change that, so it sits in the boundary.
Constrained.
Yeah, it's still metering, because remember, you're only temporarily cropping that file. You're not cropping it forever, unless you shoot JPEG, which you shouldn't do. Bad. So you don't want to have an exposure that's just for that part of the frame, although the reality is, even the multi-field metering is center biased, so it's not so dramatic that it's going to make a huge difference. I may say with 75, maybe, but I've not had an issue with that. If one part of your image is that much different than the other, then something weird is going on. Like if the middle is like 5 stops brighter than I don't know.
I doubt that would happen.
So no, the metering is for the whole frame. Good question though. Next.
We kind of went over this already, but more specifically, if I already have an SL2, why should I get a Q?
Same reasons as an M, but even more so, because the Q2 is so much lighter.
And smaller.
And let's be clear, without any sacrifice in image quality.
Because it's essentially...
I'm going to say that again.
Yeah.
Normally, you have to give something up to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, you don't in terms of image quality.
The only thing you're giving up is lens flexibility from going, say, with the 24 to 90.
Right.
But, you know, if, let's say, in the not too distant future, when Leica comes out with their 28 Summicron SL, now the question, I think that's going to be a much more valid question to say, why would I get a Q2 over an SL2 and a 28 Cron?
Well, also the Q2 is 5,000, SL2 with a 28 Cron. I don't know the price yet, but you're talking probably 10,
We're
12,
guessing
12 to 13,000.
It's a pretty different story.
You know, there's also an intimidation factor. If you're around other people and you're shooting, the SL2 is a pro body. So if someone is skittish, especially if you're overseas perhaps, and you don't want to have that pro body camera with you or necessarily the first thing that you pull out, Q2 is I don't want to say it's cute, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close to being cute. It's a camera that's just fun, it's disarming, it's friendly. It doesn't make a lot of noise.
Yeah, nobody thinks much of this,
it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like a little dude.
Well, and you touched on that. It's super quiet. I'm going to just take a...
Yeah. Use a Q2.
I'm going to use a Q2.
Yeah, it'll shoot without the card. There we go.
I'm just going to put this right up to my mic. Can you hear that?
I'm sure they can hear a little click.
It's a little click.
It's basically silent.
It's basically silent. But it also can go to electronic shutter and be 100% completely silent.
Right, and we talked about electronic shutter in one of the SL live streams, so I won't rehash it here, but there are some drawbacks, so just, go back and watch that. And then...
The Q uses a leaf shutter.
Yes.
So it's a lens shutter, and one of the reasons that I would say electronic shutter is so important on the Q, more so than the SL that has a high-speed focal plane shutter, because the maximum shutter speed on the Q mechanical speed is 2,000th of a second. Now that's very fast for a leaf shutter.
Right.
Usually they top out about 1,000. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, you can see it there.
Yep, I got it. Right. Nope, other way. I got it. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I think it...
Yeah. There we go.
Yay. Okay.
Every time, getting better.
I just want to show that shutter speed dial.
Wait.
Yep.
Wait.
There we go.
Nailed it.
Right. So we look at that shutter speed dial right here, and you'll see it caps out at a 2,000th of a second.
There you go.
There, a little glare.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I want to shoot at f1.7, because man, this lens is gorgeous at f1.7, right? Oh, not A.
Backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's everything we do is inverse. So
everything's inverse.
It's like the weatherman; they have to go backward kind of thing.
Right.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So if you want to shoot at 1.7, which why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah.
It looks amazing, and you give up nothing in terms of image sharpness wide open on this camera. So 1.7 and 2,000 of a second is not going to cut it in bright daylight.
Yeah, especially if you're on the beach or with a lot of white, like a bride or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I mean, you're gonna need at least 8,000 of a second.
Yeah, yeah.
So the good news is you have that electronic shutter capability in here, and you can shoot wide open without an ND filter, and you're good to
Right,
go.
you've got a 40,000th of a second maximum electronic shutter speed.
Not as much on the Q.
Q is 16,000.
Right.
Q2 is 40,000. But even so, 16,000 is
More than you'll ever use.
ridiculously fast.
Yeah, I mean that's like shooting into the sun wide open.
You're not gonna
use
probably not heading faster than that. But that was
I think the fastest I've shot in like real world actual taking a picture was in Santa Fe, which is high elevation, super bright on a bluebird day, not a cloud in the sky, and I shot a 12,000th of a second. That was at wide open, and that was
about the same. Yeah.
I think that's the fastest I've ever shot.
Right.
I don't even know why you'd have 40,000.
You know, why not? Because they can.
It looks cool on the spec sheet.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to really use it.
What else? What else we got?
All right, cool. Talk about the weather sealing on the Q system.
Well,
it has it.
The original Q is not weather sealed. The Q2 is weather sealed. I haven't really taken it to like a downpour. I probably wouldn't. So you probably.
We've taken it. Remember, Kirsten and Ashlyn took it to the beach the day we
That's
got
true,
it and put it in the surf.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then Kirsten's also taken it birding like in the jungle, and it's definitely rained on her. I know that out of everybody, out of all of us, Kirsten's put the Q2 through the most like worst water elements.
Yeah. The reality is, number one.
She could probably chime in on the comments.
Number one, yes. Weather sealing is only as good as your attentiveness to it. You don't want to let water pool or gather in any one area because that creates pressure, and pressure is what compromises sealing. You don't want to change memory cards, batteries, flash, anything like that in the rain. You ideally don't want to engage the manual focus in the rain because you don't want to draw water into the lens as well.
It is gasketed, but it's a potential point.
As cautious as possible. All right, we're thinking here.
Right. Oh, of how to maximize that.
Yes, exactly.
But if you're using autofocus, it's all internal.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then you're good. You probably have the hood on to keep water. So yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to shoot with the Q2 in the rain. I think
not at all.
That's what it's designed for.
And the reality is, I have shot the original Q that is not technically weather sealed. It doesn't have an IP rating.
Yeah.
I have shot it in light rain. Yeah. And I just tuck it in my jacket, take it out, keep a lens cloth handy, make sure that I just use common sense. Don't let the thing get drenched.
Exactly.
And I've never had a problem with it. Because even though it's not technically weather sealed, it is built just like every Leica to very high tolerance, which means there's not a whole lot of gap for water to physically get in. It's just solid construction.
Yeah. Good question though.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Awesome. So earlier, Josh, you said you tested the Q, Q2, and the CL. Robert is asking if you can expand a little bit more on the difference between the Q2 and the CL.
Sure. So just to back up for a second, because I'm going to ask another question that's relevant to this, because the Leica CL is an APS-C, so a 1.5 crop, 24 megapixel interchangeable lens camera that they make. So it's came out 2017, right? 2018? Yeah, it's a couple years old.
May 2017.
It's fantastic, and we will do a video on the CL at some point in the near future, probably next week. there she is. So the question
I'm
here
a big
is,
fan of the CL.
So currently, the CL, now it has integrated viewfinder. It's got the same interface on the back. Like
Notice the 3 buttons and the direction pad.
Yep, there we go, right backward. 3 buttons, right. So this is an interesting question. So right now, I've got the Elmer TL 18mm f2.8. Now, because of the crop factor on the CL, which is 1.5, this is a 28mm equivalent. So the camera I'm holding in my hand is a 24 megapixel, 28mm camera. The Q is a 24 megapixel, 28mm camera. The Q2 is 47. You could say we could scale down. So why would I go with a CL over, really, it's really more to me a CL and Q because they come in at a similar price point, or the Q2. So there's a couple of things. In the Q and the Q2's favor, you've got low light performance, both because the sensor is larger, because it's full frame, this is not, and because this 18, while it's quite tiny, super tiny, it's like the size of a body cap almost, is only a 2.8. So it's a stop and change slower than the lens on the Q or the Q2. So low light performance, number one. Obviously depth of field that goes with that. You're not going to get the same bokeh, the same rendering that you would at 1.7 as you will at If you win at 2.8, then you will at 1.7. So 1 for the Q. The Q and the Q2 have their fantastic macro mode, which we will get into. I keep talking about it, which this would need a macro lens to do that. So that's another for the Q2.
We definitely are going to talk about that because that is one of the really, really cool features that you're not going to get on the M.
Or the CL.
Easily.
Right, not easily.
I mean, you can get it on the CL, but not with that lens.
So to me, now the CL is a fantastic camera because it has interchangeable lenses, a really, really interesting interface. It's very
great viewfinder.
It's a great viewfinder.
Ultra lightweight.
It's very small. It's borderline pocketable.
With that lens, it is.
With this lens, you can see it's really not that bad. So if I was looking for a companion to an M and I liked 28 and I did a lot of low light work, I would go with a Q or a Q2. Image quality on the Q and the Q2 is better than this. Okay. You got a better lens.
I mean, it should be.
And a better sensor, a bigger sensor. So the differences are about 1 to 1.5 stops of both ISO performance and dynamic range from each jump. So the CL to the Q is about 1.5 stops, and then the Q2 or the Q to the Q2 is at 1.5 stops. So the Q2 is about 3 stops, almost 3 stops.
It's pretty significant.
It's more, not quite that linear, but so just objectively image quality, Q is better than the CL. And thus the Q2 is also better.
But let's say that you don't ever in your life want to shoot wide angle.
Right.
Like ever. That you have some allergy to wide angle photography. I don't know.
It's a rare
break
disease.
out in a rash.
That's
like,
right.
I have wide angle.
It happens to the best of us.
But let's say I was like, I don't want that. I'm a 50 shooter. You would be better served to get a CL and the excellent 35 Summilux TL.
Yeah.
And call it a day. And never change the lens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess the answer is never this absolutely 100% all the time.
When is it ever in that case in life? It's not.
No.
I think I could easily make a case for both because they're 2 different tools with 2 different functions. If we're just talking about absolute image quality, which was really not the only thing you should be considering, Q2. Yeah. Q2, Q, CL. But if you have M lenses and you want to put them on a body that's not an M, well, the Q ain't gonna do that.
CL, you can do that for sure.
CL works.
Yeah.
You want to shoot telephoto if you want that experience of interchangeable lenses.
Right. You're never gonna. You can put a 80 to 200 equivalent lens that's this big onto the CL. That's never gonna happen with the Q.
Yeah.
So someone who's a tele shooter, again, I would never tell them to get a Q because they're just gonna be unhappy with how far away everything is.
Yeah. I also know I did some measurements, some weighing last week for someone who emailed me, and I discovered that the CL with the 18 is about 1 iPhone 11 Pro lighter than the Q. So my point being is if size and weight with minimal flexibility compromise is a concern, that's another point for the CL with the 18 specifically. Because again,
it's so small.
This and the original Q. So this CL with an 18 on it and this Q, original Q with a 28 are the same focal length, same resolution.
Yeah, but look at that. Yeah.
You can see here where the CL is smaller. So there we go. Got it. Nailed it. There we go. You can see.
Yeah. Well, the CL, interestingly enough,
at the bottom is quite similar actually. The thickness is quite similar.
A little bit of Leica trivia here.
Yeah.
A little bit of Leica trivia. Everyone listen up because we might ask you on the quiz later.
Oh God.
The CL is the exact same dimension as the original Leica 1 camera.
Oh, that's a good trivia.
Little trivia.
So anyway, I guess that is my speech on that. So there's not one right answer for everyone. That's a discussion I have frequently, and I ask people, what is your use case? What is your objective? And depending on what you're going to do, I guess you get both. That's the
that's what we've done in our family.
That's the perfect scenario.
And I'll tell you a little preview, but I'm a huge fan of the CL. I use the CL a lot for my personal camera, and one of the reasons I want something really small and light is my wife and I are into rock climbing. And if you know about rock climbing, there's these rocks that are really hard and unforgiving, and if you swing a camera into them, bad things happen. I actually will climb with the CL and 18, kind of strung across me and hanging just off the back of my hip. So hopefully I don't do anything stupid and crash into the rock. But the problem is a Q is a little bit too big in terms of that side profile. The lens would stick out too far, and I'd have the potential to knock the side of the lens, and I'd feel really bad about that because it's not cheap and
Yeah.
But I'll say, you know, so when traveling, I'll choose a CL for one of these adventures, hiking or rock climbing. And my wife, she actually has, like I mentioned, she has an original Q, and she'll take that on a hike again because it's really high quality and it's small and compact, and she can just pull it out of her pack.
Yeah.
So we each have one of these systems, and when I put the pictures together, and once you know you process them in Lightroom, it's pretty hard to tell them apart.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have trips where it's like, wait,
especially during the day.
did you take that or did I take that?
Yeah.
I don't know, but whatever, it's a good picture.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they work very well together. So Josh was joking when he said, just get both. Well, it's like, well, we did.
Well, you can get a CL, the new CL starter bundle is, I think, $3,000, and a used Q is $2,500. It's just a tiny bit more
There you go.
to get a CL starter bundle
new,
and a used Q, just a little bit more than buying a new Q2. So that's an interesting
math
process there. So,
Math.
all right, what else we got?
Jose, what do we have?
All right. So we have a few people asking about long exposure and astral photography with the Q.
That was actually an improvement in the firmware.
Yeah, the Q they changed. So the question is long exposure with the Q, with the Q2.
And astrophotography.
I don't do a lot of that personally, so I'm not going to speak from a well of experience, but they did increase the maximum shutter speed on the Q through firmware to 2 minutes, which was nice. Because
I think before it was 60 seconds.
It was
right?
1 minute before.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have to deal with what's called dark frame subtraction, which is after you do a long exposure on the Q or the Q2, it does another exposure of equivalent length to reduce long exposure noise. So if you do a 1 minute exposure, you can't take another picture for 2 minutes. So that is something to think about. I don't think there's any differences limitation-wise between this and any other camera. I guess it's nice that you've got a 1.7 28, which is pretty good.
Yeah, actually, so another of our colleagues, Peter and I do a lot of workshops together, and man, like he so often rocks a Q because he's like,
he has a Q.
He's like, well, he does have a Q. So he has a Q and a monochrome. And often, to go back to your earlier example, so Peter will walk around with a monochrome with a 21, because it's wider than what you can get on the Q, and a 50, and a Q. And he'll just have 2 cameras and a lens in his pocket, right? And he's got the color camera right here. He's got the ultra wide for black and white. But what's interesting is when we do trips to Iceland, we often go out and shoot the Northern Lights. This is one of the best Northern Lights cameras.
That's so true, yeah.
Because what you need when you shoot Northern Lights is you need the widest lens possible with the fastest aperture possible that is also pin sharp, wide open to the edges.
And one quick, I'm going to throw in there, one of the unique things about this is you have an infinity stop.
You do.
On the focus ring. You don't have to use some digital scale to try to figure out, you just put out infinity.
Watch this.
And you go.
Right. So instead of autofocus.
Super cool. I want to try this now. I'm excited.
Well, Peter can show you some pictures.
There we go.
In fact, he'll actually shoot them out of his little, hotel window or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But what Josh is talking about is that let's say on an autofocus camera, it might be tough to see where infinity is, because that's the thing. You need to shoot wide open at infinity because you want the stars sharp.
Yes.
You don't want blurry stars.
Yes.
So you want sharp stars, and you'll notice here I can go from autofocus, and right now that is infinity. So I can set this to f1.7 at infinity. I can, just like an M camera, I can easily manually set my shutter speed to, let's say, I would go into the +1, because usually this is let's call it a rule of thumb, but ballpark, you would shoot, let's say at 1.7 at 1 or 2 second exposure at ISO 1600, 3200, and then the Q is super clean at 16 and 3200, like we talked about, and super sharp at 1.7. What that allows you to do, because maybe not everyone shot Northern Lights, they move quite a lot. They dance. And you look up and it's like, wow, that is not at all what I thought was going to happen. And if you have to shoot a 6 second exposure because you have a slower lens, you have to shoot 6 seconds, then another 6 seconds. That's 12 seconds. And then you have to wait 12 seconds before you can take your next shot. I'll be out there and Peter's like, click, 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 click,
yeah.
click, click. I'm like, what? That's not fair, man. You're cheating. He's like, Q, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he'll just brush it off like, get a Q, man.
There you go. So I think that's a good question, and hopefully we addressed it. So what's next?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into the micro.
Yay!
Yay, macro!
Yay, fun.
Yeah.
So
You still have a close-up on me?
this is awesome. David's going to show you on the Q2.
This is so cool. I just have to say.
Yeah, just show these people what it can
All right,
do.
ready? I'm actually going to turn it this way because
There
the
you
numbers
go.
are right
Let
side
Jose
up.
get it nice and crispy. There we go.
Give me crispy. Give me crispy.
Nice. Oh, now it's worse. I like that. I like that better. Yeah, there we go.
Yay. Okay. Now you'll see there's a ring here closest to the camera. And it says on this side, macro. In the middle, it's set to normal. And I want you to also pay attention to the focus scale here. And when I switch this to macro,
Oh my gosh.
ooh, magic trick, that whole
Do it
focus
again.
scale
Do it again.
moves.
Nice.
So I go into the macro range, and the whole macro range has changed. I'm going to go down to the minimum focus so you can see here. And you'll see it says 0.17 meters. Okay? Or 17 centimeters for those, who are familiar with the metric system.
It's like 8 inches.
Yeah. Is it 8 inches or
Yeah, it's 2.54 centimeters to the inch.
math?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, again, I got to reiterate this because there's depth to this camera that's closer than what you think because that's not 17 centimeters or 8 inches from here. That's from here where the sensor is. So that's from the exposure plane right there, and you can get rid of this amount, just, I don't know.
We'll focus on something so they can actually see. Let's do let's do that. Do a wide shot. Let's go back to the wide shot.
Yeah, well, I want to go one more time.
Oh, okay.
Because that's just so cool.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go wide, let me mention 2 things about this. Number 1,
Ooh.
if you have that macro
between.
ring in between, it
Bad
ain't gonna
things.
work.
No.
So
It'll
if your
actually give you an
camera,
error. See?
but the error doesn't last. So you
Yeah,
just
when I
see
say
that
the error. Ready? What does it say?
macro ring in not correct position.
In wrong position.
In wrong
yeah.
position. Incorrect. What does that say?
Not in correct position.
Not incorrect. It's like weird
ring,
German
not
English
in correct
translating.
position.
German English? Let's see. Yeah, it says macro ring, not in correct position, okay?
Yeah, there we go.
But it goes away.
Right.
Except now, look, I don't have the lens cap on this time. But look at the image. There's nothing there.
It's black.
It's black. It's blank. This is a common thing that can happen to people. They're like, what's wrong? My camera's broken.
That's right.
No, your ring is just set in between.
Yeah.
So if I go to macro, now look. Whoop,
Oh, you hit a button. There you
now
go.
look.
Hey, it works.
And look how close that focus
Yeah,
is.
that's what I wanted to show you. There you go.
You see that?
So the other thing to be
Ooh.
aware of is number 1. So so it's got to be engaged
give me something
fully.
here.
Here, use that.
I'm gonna take
Number
that.
2, you cannot focus at infinity in macro mode if that's not obvious. You are limited in your focus range in macro mode.
That is really close. I'm just going to flip this so you can see the distance. That's how far the lens is
Yeah, you're just using
from the subject.
filter box.
I'm just using a
Yeah.
filter box
Yeah,
here
just
because
to
it's
demonstrate,
easy to
yeah.
demonstrate. Right? So that is
Insane,
insane in terms of how close.
especially on a 28 millimeter lens, because you don't traditionally think about a 28 as a macro lens.
Right.
And nope, closer. Yeah.
Right there.
Because they can't see how close you are. So I can. It's like you can't.
I'm going
when
to
you
turn
like-
again. Look,
there we go. There we go.
Look at that.
When we do it the other way, I can actually tell you where it is. There we go. Why don't I hold it?
You hold it.
This is like a vaudeville show here. Okay.
Oh, you got to
Let's get the wide. Let's get the full camera. Here we go. We got this. Okay,
Okay,
so
ready?
I'm gonna there. So that, people, is how close the Q2 in full macro mode. So we put it in macro mode and we just took the manual focus ring and put it all the way to the closest distance.
That's a key.
And then I
Yep.
moved the camera until the image was sharp, which is about there.
Crazy.
Really, really, really close.
That's a 28
Sweet.
millimeter that
Yeah.
focuses this close.
Yeah, it's insane.
That is bananas.
So there's so much potential. You put it at 1.7 and you do, oh my God, it's so cool. Now, I want to address one question that
Crazy book.
that I neglected to figure out before this live stream is, and someone asked this, will the L Pro M52 work on the Q2 or
Will
the
it?
Q?
Will it?
So today I ordered a 49 to 52 millimeter step up ring, and I'm gonna test it when it comes in, and I'm gonna post it on Leica Star Miami Instagram. If it works, if it doesn't work, you're never gonna hear from me again. But if it does work, I'll post it on social media, and I will kind of give some insight because, I can't talk about it right now. So I am dying to know if the L Pro works on the Q2.
We can also post it on Red Dot Forum Facebook page too. You
Yeah,
know what that is,
or you
right?
could just email me or whatever. So
Whatever.
Yeah. My point is, if it does work, believe me, I'm not gonna hide it because it's super cool.
We got to spread the good word.
Absolutely. So that is
Who doesn't love macro?
But the thing is, like I said with the CL, not only is the CL 2.8 versus 1.7, but if you want to go macro on the CL, you got to put a macro lens on.
Mm-hmm.
The Q, the Q2, you just pop the switch.
You just bump the switch.
And you're golden.
I'm also going to add this.
Yes.
If you want to get even closer,
Ooh.
remember you can combine the crop modes.
Ooh, yes.
Okay, you can combine the crop mode with the macro functionality. The macro functionality is optical. That minimum distance is going to remain the same no matter what focal length or virtual focal length you choose in the camera. So very often, when I was using the Q2 for the first time, I went to Asheville, North Carolina, again for an LHSA event, and we went to the Biltmore Estate, which is beautiful. If you haven't gone, you should check it out. And they have these massive greenhouses with just the most insane orchids you can imagine, just greenhouse after greenhouse of orchids with this beautiful flat softbox light. And I'm just in there like, boop, boop.
Yeah, it's like cheating almost.
I mean, it's like, okay, fish, barrel, done.
And here's what's interesting. We
And
just
I was
talked,
shooting it at 35.
the last thing, what did you just drop?
My phone. Not far though.
This is like every live stream. David has to drop something. It wouldn't be a Red Dot Forum camera talk if
Boom.
David did not drop something. Anyway, what I was saying is, we just talked about going from shooting Northern Lights and
Yes.
how the Q2 and Q can excel based on its particular feature set without changing any lenses, accessories, whatever, to shooting orchids
In a greenhouse, yeah.
with the same camera, with no additional hardware, accessories, nothing. Think about that for 1 second.
Yeah.
And it's full frame. It's 47 megs in the case of the. I mean, it's crazy. Northern Lights to orchids with the same camera.
Well, I can make it even more clear. That same
Okay.
trip, I took a hike in the woods, and I brought a tiny itty bitty nothing tripod because
Like one of these, perhaps? Ooh.
something like that. You don't need a lot of tripod for this camera because
This
there's
is,
no vibration in the camera.
I brought this so I could talk about it quickly. This is a Suray tabletop tripod.
It's pretty cool.
This is something we started carrying maybe 2-3 years ago, thanks to Kirsten. This is the perfect Q2 tripod. This is actually mine. I keep it on my desk. I mean, mine isn't. I stole it from myself. This is amazing. This will hold an SL2 as well.
There you go.
There we go. It's got a fully articulated ball head, quick release system.
Machined aluminum.
Yeah, it's actually quite solid. It folds down. I mean, you can see. I'm going to get the focus in. Boom. There we go. That's quite. I mean, it's palmable.
Well, you can put it in your camera bag.
Yes, exactly. And this holds the Q2 beautifully. So yeah, this is a Suray.
I don't know the model number.
Something.
Small one.
3T-15K. There you go. It's just called the Suray tabletop tripod if you search the website.
Yeah.
Anyway, super cool, very durable, very sturdy little tabletop tripod.
Yeah.
I have it here, so I'm mentioning that.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
I interrupted, sorry.
No, it's okay. So basically, I decided to take a little walk in the woods along a waterfall trail with a river and a babbling brook and the whole thing. And I brought we have a...
Maybe? Right there. We'll take it out of the case so that people can see it.
So I brought a little,
There it is.
boop, 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 right?
What is that, David?
This is a 49 millimeter ND filter.
Made by?
This one is Breakthrough Photography.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is a 16, so it's 3-stop ND, which actually under the cover of kind of a wooded scene, if you're shooting at f8 or f11, you're able to get like a half second or 1 second exposure, which is plenty for moving water. And I could just throw this on there. It screws on really easily. I'll actually show you guys that. So,
well, we should talk about this because
You
I've
wanna
had
talk
some
about
questions about this, how this works.
let's loop back to that.
Yeah.
But I just want to your point of the flexibility.
Yeah.
So I took it on a hike, shot some waterfall pictures, some babbling brook, nature stuff. Later that night, went out with some friends and just shot at dinner, shot at a bar. Went and shot at the Biltmore Estate and did architectural interiors in the Biltmore by available light because you can't have a tripod in there. And it looked amazing because you can ramp up the ISO and shoot wide open. Shot in the greenhouses and did macro photography with orchids. Went out and went to a jazz show in a back room of a club with crazy lighting. And this was amazing for that.
Yeah.
And
it's like 10 cameras in one.
Yeah, so...
Without having a different lens or anything.
It's
crazy.
Honestly, I felt kind of naked, like just carrying this one camera because I'm like, where are all my lenses? Like, where's my stuff? Oh, wait, I have everything right here.
Yeah. on that note, I want to talk a little bit. I know this isn't, maybe there's a question about this, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because we get to do whatever we want. So I want to talk about what's kind of going on at the front of the Q and the Q2. Now the Q and the Q2 share the same hood and cap and all that, and the filters are the same. So I'm going to talk about the Q2, but this relates to the Q as well. So here's my Q2. Out of the box, the Q2 looks like this. Can we get a little close-up action going on here? Jose, yes, thank you. So there is a lens hood that is attached to the Q2 already out of the box. This actually differs from the original Q, which came without the lens hood attached. The lens hood was separate. So first question people ask is, how do I get a filter if the hood is already screwed in? So the Q and the Q2, the threads for the lens hood are separate from the filter threads. I'm going to remove the hood. It just unscrews like so. And voila. Here are the filter threads inside. I'm going to grab this filter. Upside down. There we go. So the filter threads in like such. Boom. So now I've got this 49mm or E49 filter threaded. And now the hood still goes on because the threads for the hood are separate from the threads for the filter. Now, you may ask, why wouldn't I just always have the hood? Why even make the hood removable? Well, imagine if you've got a circular polarizer on here, which you need to turn to adjust for each picture. The hood is going to interfere with that. You're not going to be able to actually adjust the filter. So you say, oh, I'll just take the hood off and call it a day. However, when you remove the hood, you've actually got these very fine threads that the hood screws onto that are exposed. You don't want to get any kind of dirt or grit or debris or water or anything in those threads. So in the box for the Q2, they give you this metal ring, and people ask you, what's the ring for? This ring covers the threads when the hood is removed, like so. So now it's got a nice finished look to it.
Well, and it's protected.
There we go. And it's protected.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is if you dent that filter thread, or the hood thread, that would be a bad day because your hood won't go back on.
Once you damage or get bad stuff stuck in those fine little threads, you're never going to get the hood on. I'll also mention that, especially with the Q, and the Q is new, there is a little gasket in between the threads for the hood and the actual lens. And it does require a little bit of pressure to get the hood. See, like, it's pretty tight right now, but it's all skewed. You do have to kind of, there we go, give it a good twist
torque
to get it to be straight. Now,
well, part of that I think is because of, is this gasketed on the Q2? And it wasn't gasketed?
No, it was gasketed on just because they wanted to keep debris and dirt out of those threads.
Right.
So it's got like a rubber circular gasket in here. So
O-ring, yeah.
That's the first thing I want to talk about is you can use the hood or not. Just make sure you've got the protective ring in place. And we do sell these separately if you lose yours. That's that. And then the hood, again, which screws on to threads that are independent of the filter thread. It takes a 49mm filter. And I want to say one more time, this hood and ring and filter system is identical from the Q and the Q2 because the lens didn't change. So therefore, the filter threads didn't change.
Wait,
that
Josh,
part of the lens didn't change. Some of the rings did get a little wider.
Yes, some of the hardware is a bit different, but I'm talking about the threads and the optics here. Now,
correct.
Another thing I want to talk about is the cap. This is a bit of a controversial.
Wait, Josh, before you jump into that,
yes,
somebody's asking, when is it useful or not useful to use the hood?
The hood, I would use it all the time because it's going to protect the front of the lens, both from impact and from water and from dirt, anything coming in. Mm-hmm. It looks really cool. It adds very little size to the camera, and because it threads on, did you just drop another thing?
Yeah, this time it was just an empty filter
box. I swear I can't
box.
take this guy anywhere. It's killing me.
Sorry, yeah.
So because it doesn't clip on, or it's not like, there's no way this hood's coming off unless you take it off. This hood, unlike some M lenses where they're like, it just clips on, this hood is locked in. I grabbed, in case anyone asks, I have that I use only for demonstration purposes, an aftermarket
ventilated hood.
Q hood.
Yep.
But the problem with this hood, I don't want to talk too badly about any products here, but is it doesn't really sit.
Whoop, gotta lower it down. Nope, too high.
You can't see it.
Hold it back.
Here, you can see it right there. The camera doesn't sit flat. Can you go down? Oh my God. Yes. Sweet. I know this is not really ideal, but the camera doesn't sit. See how, there you go, it's tilted up with the hood on. So I'm not a big fan of this one. I also find that it's just, it looks cool. It looks super cool.
It does look cool, yeah.
But it's not practical, and it doesn't offer the same kind of protection because it sits a lot farther away from the edge of the lens. So I actually think
So it's not going to prevent flare.
or damage if you
damage,
knock it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the included hood is excellent. I don't know. I've seen Qs come on trade with scuffed up hoods, but everything else is perfect. I'm like, okay,
You can replace
I can
the
replace
hood.
that hood. I just
Right.
take the old one off and screw the new one on if I wanted to make it perfect. Now, I'll keep this on. I want to talk about caps.
Okay.
Out of the box, the Q comes with, and the Q2 come with this. A metal cap, which goes over the lens with or without the hood. It's quite clever like that. With a felt lining on the inside.
Is it felt?
Some kind of something.
No, you got to touch it. And then...
Oh my God. You're not allowed to talk anymore. And it goes over the hood like that. Now, I don't think these caps fit very well. If you drop them, they make a heck of a lot of noise and they get scratched up. And over time, the felt can wear away and then the cap doesn't stay on.
Well, it gets kind of packed down.
Yeah, it's not great. It is clever because it's designed to fit over the lens whether or not the hood is attached, because the hood does have like a squaring to the end.
It's hard to see there.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's there.
But if I have the ring on here, I'll show you real quick. The original cap still fits. So there are two workarounds, or really I would call them solutions to this. If you shoot with the hood on, or use the hood frequently, then you can use an aftermarket lens cap. There's a company called Match Technical. They make the Thumbs Up. That's what they're famous for. They also make a variety of soft releases. And last year, they came out with this. This is the Match Technical LCSR01. It's like a silicone rubber lens cap hat thingy. It's got a little lanyard on it, which you can remove.
Well, I like calling it a hat.
Lens hat. It's like a little. And what this does is this fits over the hood perfectly. I mean, it's not. I can actually hold it by the cap. It's not going to come off. It's really, really nice, but it's easy to remove. It just kind of peels away. It's got little bumps to make it easy to put on and off. And the lanyard, if you want it, again, you can take this off. This is just a little looped over. Will actually hook onto the strap lug like so. So when you're not using the cap, you can actually have the cap underneath the camera as like a little stabilizer. I've seen people do.
Yeah, that's cool. I
Yeah,
like that.
so this is made by Matt. We sell these. They're, I forget how much they cost, $48, something like that. I mean, if you have a Q or a Q2, you need this cap. I'm sorry, you just have to have it. And before you ask me, it does work just as well without the hood. It's important, you do want to have the ring attached because you need that to kind of grab onto. With the ring on. And, oops. Boom.
Nice.
So it protects the front of the lens really nicely. It keeps dust and debris out of it.
And that works on the Q and the Q2.
Q and the Q2, exactly the same. The other option, if you don't use the hood, let's say you use a polarizer a lot, is to get a Leica 49mm lens cap. There's a number of Leica M lenses that take a 49mm filter, like the 75 Summicron and the 135 Apo, yeah, and the 28 Lux. So, of course, Leica makes a 49mm cap, an E49 cap. That cap will fit perfectly on the front of the Q or the Q2. And it says Leica on it, so it keeps it in the family. Again, this is not gonna work if you have the hood attached, and you need to have the ring attached for this to attach. But if you're using filters a lot that require adjustment, like let's say this was a polarizer, and you didn't wanna have to be constantly taking the hood on and off, and you didn't wanna use the rubber cap or the stock cap, you can use the 49mm cap, goes over the filter, still says Leica. Done.
Nice.
So that is my rant on hood, filter, thread ring situation. I get a lot of questions about it. So yeah,
a lot of people have a lot of challenges and they don't know what's compatible with what. So that is very helpful.
So get the rubber cap. You will be glad you did. End of topic. Jose?
You can't have that one.
Well,
but,
actually, the next question is very related to this.
Okay.
If I were to upgrade from the original Q to the Q2, which accessories are compatible?
Oh,
all right.
So good question.
Just I don't know. I got feedback that Jose might be a little low on the volume.
It's a conspiracy.
I don't know if he still is, but the question was, if I have a Q116, the first Q, and I want to upgrade to the Q2, what accessories are going to still work from generation to generation? So
yes. Let's talk about what does work, because that's a shorter list than what doesn't work. Filters.
Yep.
As I just discussed.
Same lens.
Same size. Same filter size. Caps, of course, the hoods and the rings, all that stuff.
Camera bags.
Obviously, camera bags, camera straps. The camera straps will work because the same strap lug. Hot shoe cover. If we're gonna get real semantical, hot shoe cover still works.
And what about and the flash? If you have a flash.
The flashes still work. This is an SF40.
Yep.
Tripods, all that stuff's the same.
But here's what's not going to work.
And memory cards are the same.
The biggest thing. The
right battery. The battery is different. The original Q shared a battery with the CL, the VLux4, the VLux114, and the VLux5. That's the BPDC12 battery.
I'm going to just show these batteries.
The Q2 shares a battery with the SL and the SL2. There we go. Close up.
That's my shirt.
We got it.
There we go. Okay.
Boom. Magic.
Okay. So, this is the original Q. And Josh, you said this is a BPDC12, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. This looks awfully familiar to people who have an SL because it's the same battery. That's part of the reason, it's kind of a twofold reason why they went with this battery. One, you can see this is a physically higher capacity battery with 47 megapixels. It uses and a faster processor.
And 4K video.
And 4K video uses, yeah, that's an important thing.
Yeah.
It uses a lot more juice. So it needed a higher capacity, higher voltage battery. That's what this is. Remember, this is running the SL, which is a professional mirrorless camera. So the power requirements are pretty high for that camera, and they decided it's going to work equally well for the Q2. The other thing is, and you may not be able to see it, but we talked about this before, this little thing right here under the lip of the battery is a rubber gasket. Because the Q2 is weather sealed, this gasket seals the bottom of the camera. And I'll show you one generation to another. So if I take the original Q, okay, and I take the battery, and I'm hoping I put him in the right way. Nope. I had a 50% chance to be
50-50
wrong.
shot, you messed it up.
All right, so I'm gonna push that in, and you see it locks in, and then there's a little door. Well, this is kind of hard to seal. This is a large area with a hinge. The Q2,
now, people, when the Q2s first started delivering, I was getting calls like,
my
Q2 is missing a part. It's missing the door. Like, no, just put the battery in, it's fine.
Right. Okay, so now this is a lot easier.
Nope.
Oh.
My God, that was amazing.
Okay.
Oh, you're the best.
That's it.
There you go.
Right? And it looks...
Oh, out of focus? There we go.
It looks out of focus. It looks open. And you're like, oh my gosh, the battery is exposed. There's nothing protecting it. But the reality is this is more sealed, just like on the SL and the SL2, because that gasket sits right here, okay? So it seals the base of the camera against moisture and dust.
Yeah.
And then instead of the back combo door, you now have, this is actually a metal door now, solid metal door with a hinge. And if I tilt down, you'll see this is also gasketed. And you can feel it when you try to close the door. It's got a little bit of a dampened feel because it's got that gasket there. So if you don't push it in and click it down, it won't lock in. This is similar on, actually like on the XU, it has a door for the battery and memory card that's sealed like this. Yeah. It's a two-stage door.
Okay, but to continue on with the original question, which was what accessories don't work. So batteries are different. Half cases are different.
One. Yep.
This is a Q half case. This is a Q2 half case, both by Arch and Amano. They make beautiful stuff.
Yes, they do.
They are different. Of course, the bottom of the Q is different from the Q2. So the bottom,
as I just showed you,
of the cases is going to be different as well. So they don't work. The other big one, and this is so minor, is the hand grips. The Q2 grip, if we can get a close-up on me, I can show you this. There we go. That's pretty good. There's this little...
Nubby thing?
Nubby thing.
That's a technical term. You had a better view the other way. I can't see it.
No, you can't see it.
Yeah, you can see it there.
That kind of sits in where the battery door lives, like in between the little latch on the Q. So the Q grip doesn't really seat in that well on the Q2. The Q2 grip doesn't have that little doobie-doo. It's smooth here, so it fits better. You can get away with the Q grip on the Q2. I don't recommend it if you want the most secure fit. So that's another thing that will not work.
Not work well.
And
the cases won't fit at all.
Right, cases won't fit at all. Battery's totally different. Battery charger, of course, is different. Screen protector is different. But everything else, filters, straps, memory cards are the same. I think that pretty much hits
Hope that answers the question.
all the highlights, yeah, and flashes, yeah.
Well,
Jose,
since
what
you
else we got?
mentioned SD cards, what do you recommend as far as speed? 95 megabytes, 300?
The fastest ones you can buy.
I actually recommend the same one that I use in the SL2.
I have a UHS-2 card here, not the one that you
Not the one
recommend
that I
necessarily,
recommend,
but yeah, I don't have that handy.
I think I have one over
Do
here.
you? Okay.
Or no, I don't. It's in my other camera.
It's
so
fine.
yeah, so I recommend same as the card for the SL2 because again, same 47 megapixel file size, same UHS-2 requirement, and also the Q2 does 4K video as well. So if you want that recording capability, I personally use the Lexar 1667X cards. It's a weird number, but just go with it. And 256 gigabyte size because the files are really large versus the original Q. On the original Q, I used just 32, 64 gig cards, like 600X, which is about 90 megasecond. And that's about as fast as you can get on UHS-1 reliably. UHS-2, you can get up to 300 megabyte a second. So it just depends on capacity and how many pictures you want to take. I mean, I know you like to have smaller cards.
Yeah, everyone's got their own thing. I don't shoot video that much, so I can get away with a 32 or a 64 easier than, let's say, you do a lot of video, you need the space. So the short
Just
answer
go for
is
speed. Go for
the
speed.
fastest, best memory card you can afford is what you should get.
I would
It's like-
I would say go for a minimum on the Q2 of 150 megasecond.
There you go. Next question. What do we got? We got time
Alright.
for a few more.
Which flash would you recommend for the Q2?
That one?
I'm not going to get into flash photography right now. Short answer, there's really only two options within the Leica ecosystem, which is the SF60 and
Too
the
big.
SF40.
Too big.
I go with the SF40.
It's the right side. It's right
I'm
side.
gonna take a little.
Take the diffuser off too.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of make it what it looks like out of the box. Pop it on your Q2, which doesn't have a hot shoe cover on it. Voila. So it is kind of large relative to the camera
It's not
size,
bad. It's not bad.
but it's not that heavy.
It's also got a little LED light on there for video, which is cool in the front.
Yeah, I can probably turn it on.
Wee! Oh, I love that
Like the
sound.
little whirring
Oh, I
noise.
love that sound. That's like so classic. Yeah, there you go. You got it on.
Oh, there we go. See, like this is kind of cool. This also could be a good
awesome. Yeah.
focus assist light.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can see I can actually control the brightness with a little power scale here for the flash, but it also controls the brightness of the LED. It's kind of amazing, actually, now that you think about it. Yeah, look at
I like that a lot.
That's
That's
so
cool.
cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, this actually is fun. And this obviously has batteries in it, so it's fully loaded. And it's not
four AA's.
terribly heavy. I think I may want the hand grip if I was going to use the flash. I'll put it on here now. You can see the grip just kind of threads on. Like so.
Ba-boom, ba-boom.
Ah,
There you go.
Yeah, this is better.
Oh yeah, that's a nice balance.
This
there.
is a nice. If I was going to use a flash, I would use it like this. I'd have the SF40, and I would have
and
the grip.
one of my favorite features, because Leica had flashes, the SF20 and the SF24D, and they were good for size, but this is a lot more powerful because it's a guide number of 40 rather than 20 or 24, so
Yeah.
double the power.
Yeah.
And it has something the other ones didn't have, which is beep.
You want
No, you can leave it there.
Oh, okay. Oh, it can bounce. Yeah, of course.
Oh my gosh, and the bounce card built in
You got that.
on the top.
We got the diffuser there, and then the bounce card.
So what's really cool is if you are using this indoors, you can just
Sweet.
bounce it right off the ceiling, use auto exposure, and it'll be nice and soft and diffuse.
Yeah.
without
Again,
looking
the
too much like
SF60
flash.
is a more full-featured, more powerful flash,
I
but
like
it's
that-
larger.
I like this one better.
But it's larger.
Yeah.
That's so on a camera like an SL, SL2, I get makes sense. But this, because the Q2 is already pretty small,
Yeah, it's
I
a
like
great size.
the SF40. So good question.
The other
That is
option
the answer,
is
yes.
what you have there too. So if you don't
Oh,
want to
right.
use flash, you can also use continuous light.
This is a Lume Cube LED light panel. This is the one I use all the time, and this is I don't know, it's an LED light panel. It's pretty
Well,
straightforward.
it's got a diffuser on
It's got a diffuser on it currently. I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna blind
it. Well,
everyone.
show the back. Show the back.
Ooh, well, I'm gonna have to stare at it. Hold on. Well,
Turn it down. There you go.
There you go. You can see it's got a little display that shows
Color
you power
display.
and adjustable white balance. This thing is amazing. You can see it fits on the palm of my hand. Also works as a cell phone battery charger. I could dim it.
Yeah, you better dim it a lot. You're blinding everybody.
I'm dimming it.
You dimming it or not?
Oh yeah, it's just still really bright.
That's 5%
I
brightness.
can light myself really nicely here.
Yeah, 5% brightness, and it's that.
This thing is super cool. I've got as well as a. Let me just kind of take off my little tripod piece here. Bear with me, please. I had this on my tabletop tripod, but let me turn this off so I don't blind myself.
I think you're blinding everybody, Josh.
It's off now. So it has a little tripod, 1/4-20. So I'll show that so you can see it.
Yep.
There you go. You thread this on like so.
Kind of looks like a laptop on the bottom with all the connectors.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And then.
Baboosh. Look at that. You got it on there.
Boom.
Yeah, nice.
Now I've got a continuous LED panel, which I can use for stills or for video.
And you can also do the same thing. You can bounce this off the ceiling by tilting it up.
Sure. If I got this oriented the right way. Well, I need 2 hands for this.
There you go.
Voila. There it is.
Pretty cool, right? That's
cool.
really cool.
So these are really cool. Again, you can adjust both the color temperature and I'm going to put this right there.
So what you can do, what's cool about that is you can match the ambient conditions. So let's say you're shooting like in a church and it has warm light, like 2500 or 3200 Kelvin. If you come in there with a daylight balanced flash or daylight balanced LED panel, everything's going to look blue and gross.
Yeah.
So you can just match the color of the light just on the digital display, and then you just set your white balance on your camera, either to auto white balance, camera will figure it out, or set it to the lights.
Yeah.
And it's straight pro right there.
I have to give credit to Ashlyn, who brought LumeCube. Ashlyn, she works with us. She brought the LumeCube brand in, and at the time they just had a little mini light, the
mini light, the actual cube.
Yeah,
is
the
cool
cube. Yeah,
it's completely waterproof. You can submerge it.
Yeah, which I don't have here, but I like this better because it's a much more flexible light source. It puts out a beautiful light.
Flatter, yeah.
I have used this with my phone in terms of like I've just held it out as a portrait. I mean, it's
light.
so cool, and it's not much bigger than an iPhone, and it just fits in my back pocket or the size of my bag. This is a
10S.
Yeah, I'm gonna just do the back.
Max.
Okay, I'll just do the back. So there's a 10S, actually a little smaller than can't quite tell than David's 10S Max. So there you go. It's I don't know. I just have it with me all the time. It sits on my desk. I use it almost every day for photographing like used items or just any kind of augmenting any kind of light.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So if
you don't have a studio with giant softboxes.
Yes, this huge thing that's right up here you can't see.
I apologize for that loud noise on the mic.
This is the LumeCube LED panel. We sell these. They're awesome. They're not that expensive, and
and the battery is rechargeable. Internal lithium battery.
Yeah. It takes a USB-C.
Yeah, USB-C.
I forget the names of all these things. Yeah.
USB-C. Same as you can charge it off your MacBook.
All right, so I think we got time for a couple of more questions. It's getting a little late, but
what do we got?
Let's go.
So one quick question about macro. What is the ratio?
Ooh, good question.
Macro?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I do have
I
the
believe it is 1:3.
specifications here.
I'm guessing.
Here I am diving into the specs. Oh, that's a good question. I don't actually know the answers to that one.
It'll also depend which virtual focal length you choose. But at full frame, it is. We could get a drum roll.
It may not be in here. Darn you, Leica.
I'm gonna guess.
It's not in the specs. I can't believe I don't know.
I'm gonna guesstimate that it's around 1:3 or 1:2. It's pretty close, but it's not as close as you'd have with a 1:1 60 TL macro.
I'm annoyed. Someone at Leica, if you're watching this, put the reproduction ratio in
the specs. Time to update.
This is annoying because I'm supposed to know everything and I don't know this.
Well, we're gonna take an educated guess.
Yeah, I mean I can find out.
I'm guessing 1:3. That's my best guess.
Now I'm like irritated because now I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight because I'm only gonna want to know.
He's not gonna take any more questions. He's gonna be reading that the whole night. All right.
Yeah, it has like the MTF tag. Okay, next question. Sorry, I don't know the answers to that one. Go.
All right. All right. Can you show us how to put on one of Leica's new screen protectors on?
Oh my God, yes, I almost forgot. So this is
like the big show.
This will be if we can even get some room here.
Yeah, you gotta.
Last year, or early this year, Leica reissued their line of screen protectors, and they call them premium hybrid glass screen protectors, but they're not glass. Just like the previous versions, they are plastic. They're a clearer, thicker plastic. They're quite nice. I believe they are made in Germany. Yes, they are made in Germany. It says it right there. They come like this. There are 3 different sizes. One for the M10, Q2, SL2, CL, all these, everything. So Do I recommend a screen protector? For years I didn't, because they use adhesive and they made a mess.
Big
The
mess when
Leica
you
screen
wanna take it off,
protectors
yeah.
use static.
Right.
So there's no glue, no adhesive, no nothing. And there's really no downside.
You can just peel it right off.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
it's worn out, peel it off, replace it.
I need this one. Here we go. So the question is how to put it on, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit first. I'm not going to really show you. Well,
it's
you
not
can
bad.
see it. You can see it here. So
Well,
the thing is,
step one.
This is the Q. Where's the Q2? There's like 19 cameras here. I got
Well,
it.
there. You put the lens.
So ideally, you want to get your screen protector when you buy your camera and put it on as soon as you take the camera out of the box.
There's a reason for this.
So the screen is as clean and as fresh and as perfect as possible.
See this right here?
Yeah.
This is like the worst when it comes to mounting the screen protector because those invisible oils that you have on your fingers
Yeah.
can basically make it where the screen protector can't adhere and you'll end up with
I'm actually
air
gonna
bubbles.
Put the rubber cap on to give it a good sit on the table here. So the biggest mistake people make is they don't thoroughly clean the LCD screen before they put the screen protector on. It has
Either
to be
dust.
perfectly clean. So what I do is I have a lens cloth and I have my blower bulb, little squirty squirt. So I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna clean the screen to the best of my ability with my cleaner, and then I'm gonna get my blower bulb, and I'm gonna go in again. And actually what you can do, here's a little hack for you, is you can use either your iPhone flashlight or your Lume Cube
I'll
to,
hold that. Here, I'll hold just a flashlight. Here.
I just wanna kinda show,
Oh, okay.
you
There you
can you can use this
Dirty.
to see any like
It's dirty.
errant spots.
Yeah, but see there, right there. Whoop.
Yeah, I
Move
can
back.
see I did
you
a
see
bad
the
job.
smudge, right?
Yeah, so that would screw up your screen protector. So this camera has been extremely well used, so I probably won't be able to do a great job on it, but I'm gonna try anyway because I have a positive attitude. So, a little breath, get it as clean as we can get it. As clean as we can get it. Oh my gosh.
And ideally use a clean screen protector.
Okay.
And also a little PSA here,
gonna
word of
open
warning
this
while you're getting that opened.
Yes.
The Leica lens cloths, I'm gonna dangle that over there, are really great. Do not put them in the washing. You can wash them; they're machine washable, but don't put them in the dryer, especially with dryer sheets.
Right. No fabric softener, please.
No fabric softener, because what's gonna happen is no matter how you wipe on your lenses or the screen, you're gonna get residue on there, and it's not gonna come off easily.
All right, so this is what it looks like out of the packaging. You open this little guy up, and you have your screen protector. This is going to be hard to see. Put it against the black thing here.
Yep, you can see
There we
it.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the trick to this is first you kind of have the pull back. It says, can't really see it. It says pull back here on the screen protector. You'll see it if you're holding it. So, of course, the last thing I'm going to do just before I get this on is give my screen one last little burst of air. I don't want spitting all over it. Okay.
No dust.
I'm going to
no
pull
dust.
it back. I'm trying to show you guys this. I'm going to pull it back ever so slightly.
And peeled back in the corner.
So we're just getting the edge, like that.
Yep, there you go. You could
Just
hold
the
it
edge.
Yeah, hold it steady right there. So you see how it's basically sitting on the backing plastic, which is also clear.
Mm-hmm.
But Josh is just peeling back that edge to get it started on the camera.
And then while I'm holding right now onto the backing, so I'm not actually touching the adhesive part, or there's no adhesive, the staticky part.
The protector. Yeah.
I'm going to push it as close to the edge of the screen as I can. I'm going to hold down one end with my finger, and then I'm going to pull. Can you see? Oh, yeah, I'm going to pull
He
back.
might be able to hear you though.
There we go.
Here.
I did an okay job. Yeah. Then I'll take my little lens cloth, and I did okay. A couple of bubbles, which will go away eventually. I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, you see I got a couple bubbles, but that's not bad. That's not bad for on camera. So to recap, you should have a screen protector. You should put it on when the camera is fresh out of the box. Make sure the screen is as clean as you can make it. Use a clean lens cloth, use a blower bulb. If you put a screen protector on the camera when there's any kind of anything on the screen, you're gonna get bubbles and spots and specks that's gonna drive you nuts. You wanna get it lined up perfectly. I'm assuming these are probably laser cut.
You
so
can
that,
tilt it at different angles so they can see on.
um,
There you go.
you can see I actually missed it a little bit.
So see that's here.
See how there's like a
use the
little,
pen.
yeah, there's like a little, I'm gonna hold it up higher.
I'm trying
there.
not to stab the camera. Right.
There, little air bubble. That'll probably go away if I rub it enough.
We'll use the. Do you have a little pusher in there?
They don't give you the pusher anymore.
Oh, but they do give you the lens cloth.
So again, that's why you put it on when the screen is when the camera. This is pretty good for a camera that's been through a lot, I will say. And that's it. So you get it on there, and if you want to adjust it, you can use the edge of the backing to kind of catch. We'll get it. Let's go add the skills. There we go. Catch the edge of the screen protector if you want to lift it off. I could readjust if I feel so compelled.
Be aware though, if you saw him grab the bottom edge, so there probably is going to be a little fingerprint.
I did pretty good actually. You know, I did pretty good. My hands are. I ran my fingers down. I went like this with the lens cloth to get as much oil. We're getting into like super crazy techniques here, but I think I did a pretty good job.
So second time's the charm.
Putting this on the second time. I'm going to show you guys.
Ooh, and keep in mind our studio light here is unforgiving. You would see everything.
So I used the kind of firm edge of the backing from the screen protector to catch the corner, lift it up gently, and then just reposition it. Because I didn't do a perfect job, and I'm a perfectionist. So now I did a really good job. I'm actually just going to keep this on here.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
That looks really good. And you can see these new screen protectors are clearer and thicker.
Yeah,
and it
really
still works
nice.
with the touch screen, and there's no glue. Whew, that was exciting.
Yeah, that was great.
Was this like the first time someone's put on a Q2 screen protector on camera? I think so.
First time done live, right?
And it's getting pretty late. I bet you we can answer one more question. If Jose, you have a really good one for
Yeah, I
us.
have a quick one here. Not sure if you guys touched on this earlier, but is the thumbs up the same for the Q and the Q2?
Oh, good question. No, it is not.
And also, in the same question, which one do you recommend, the Leica Thumb Support or the Matchtech Thumbs Up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now they're both good.
right.
They're just different.
This is a good thing to finish on. So if you're like me and you have big thumbs, you like to have the thumbs up.
All thumbs.
Yeah, seriously, right? You like to have the thumbs up on the Q or the Q2. I didn't bring one for the Q, but it is different between the Q and the Q2. So for years, the only game in town was Match Technical Services. They also make this rubber cap, right? Same company. They made the thumbs up. Thumbs up is a grip. It slides into the hot shoe, and it gives you a little place to hook your thumb onto. The Q is called the EPL-Q2. This is the thumbs up made by Match Technical for the Q2. Slides into the hot shoe. You can see it there.
Sits nicely in that little groove, the thumb groove.
I can grab like that.
And show the back.
Trying to, wait.
Yep, the other
backwards. I can't get it. Here we go, like this. I can't get it. There you go. So my thumb sits nicely. It's really, especially with the hand grip that I have on here right now.
Oh, that's a great combo.
I'm like locked in. Now, Leica has started making their own versions of these items. They call them thumb supports. For the Q2, you have the option to get either the thumbs up EPL-Q2, which I have on here, or the Leica Q2 thumb support. You'll notice it's quite a bit larger, and if you get to feel it in your hands like I am, it's significantly lighter as well. Let me put the camera down. Significantly lighter.
I think they make it out of aluminum instead of brass.
It's anodized aluminum.
Yep.
It's also got a little button here. What the heck is that? So, I will show you.
And it says like a camera.
Back of the camera, slides on. First thing you'll notice is it does duplicate the branding here. Second thing you'll notice is it covers the diopter. So you cannot adjust the diopter once this is attached. It also covers the digital zoom button. Because of that, they duplicate that with this little extra button, which serves the same purpose. I can turn it on. And I can
Yeah, it's a pass-through.
Yeah, it's like a pass-through button. You can see that.
Still works fine.
Still works. So they're between the Q2 thumb support that Leica makes and the EPL-Q2. The major differences are, number one, the EPL-Q2 is made from brass and it's painted. So it does have a heftier, heavier feel. Love it or hate it, that's what it feels like. The Leica version covers the diopter. If you find yourself accidentally adjusting it, even with the locking mechanism, okay?
This could protect you, yeah.
Exactly. The Leica version duplicates, and I'll show you the button, now that you've seen how that one works. The thumbs up model, the button is not covered. It just kind of...
It's notched away.
Right, it kind of has a cutout.
You can still activate it pretty easily.
Still tap the button. It's not that hard. The biggest functional, or I would say ergonomic difference is the part that your thumb grabs onto. Let's see if I can do this here.
The angle.
Well, not only the angle, but here we go.
A little bit.
There. The thumb grip part of the Q2 thumb support sits farther outboard. It sits farther towards the edge of the camera. This is good if you have smaller hands and your thumb kind of falls farther out to the edge of the camera. But I find for me with
Bigger hands.
or at least bigger than average, I guess, if you're 5'8" or something, I like the Match Technical thumbs up more because it sits farther in. So you can see there and sits farther out. I would recommend trying them both if you can because it's hard to explain. But I do find that for me personally, I like the thumbs up better. If you like the most integrated design possible or you want it to sit farther out,
Yeah.
the thumb support is nice. So thumbs up, thumb support. This is about $100 more.
Yeah, the Leica one.
That is another reason to go with the thumbs up. I have both because I use both. As crazy as that sounds. It just depends on my mood, I guess. So thumb support,
Yeah,
Leica.
show the profile too, right there. Yeah, so the profile is a little different. The other thing I think is notable is that the Leica Thumb Support is straight vertical up and down.
Yes.
And
He means this part right here.
Yeah, so it like tilted a little bit.
Well, then it's yeah. That's not gonna work. I'm sorry.
Tilted a little bit there, like right there.
Yeah.
So that I'm going to use the pen again. Okay, so this area here is straight up and down, vertical.
I'll swap them.
Swap them out.
Yeah.
The thumbs up has a 22-degree. It's hard to show it on camera.
Right.
Maybe tilt it back. I feel like the scene in Spaceballs.
That's right. You just put your foot here.
Yeah.
Yeah. There. You could sort of kind of see it.
Kind of.
It's hard to show.
It's hard to show, but this
Yeah. If I just hold it straight up, can you see it there?
catch the light.
I can catch the light just right.
Tilt it.
So how many
Right
monkeys?
there. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So this right here, this angle actually
Can we
starts
get it in focus,
here,
Jose, please? Yes.
starts here and comes back towards the camera. 22-degree down angle. It's
That's
very
right.
specific.
That's right.
And Tim Isaac, who is the guy behind Match Technical, he just decided, actually going all the way back to the M8. I had my first thumbs up back on my M8.2, and actually it was the exact same 22-degree down angle, and he's used it for every thumb support since. Thumbs up, I should
Thumbs
say.
up. Yeah,
Thumbs up
different term,
since.
yeah.
For every camera since. So I guess I prefer the thumbs up because I've used so many generations of them on all my M cameras. But to each their own, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're both good. I will say, whether you buy a thumbs up or a thumb support, please take off the hot shoe cover and put it in the box. Don't lose it, because then when I take your camera on trade in 5 years, I'm gonna ding you $15 for the missing hot shoe cover. So you heard it here first, folks. Don't lose the hot shoe cover.
Don't lose the hot shoe cover.
I think we can wrap
Jose,
that up.
you have-
anything else
Is
crazy
it-
we should answer? While we're
Do
Yes.
we have like a lightning round? Is there quick one-word answer questions we can do?
One word
Well,
answer? You're not capable
Yes.
of
No.
Yeah.
Can you quickly talk about the build quality of the Q and the QP?
They're excellent.
yeah.
Yeah, they're excellent.
I don't even think about it because they're both so good.
The QP, just to briefly touch on it, is it's the same as the Q.
Oh,
same
there it
same
is.
as the original Q, but it's got this matte black paint finish. So instead of the original Q, if I can just kind of hold it up, you'll see that the original Q is definitely shinier. It catches the light. This one, no matter what angle I put it at, it doesn't really catch the light because it's this matte, ultra matte black. I don't know if they took this from the Stealth edition, but it's pretty close.
It's a little more matte. It's even more matte.
It's even
than
more
Stealth
matte. Yeah, even more matte than the matte paint they came up with the Stealth edition. It's just stylistically different, and you'll notice also the text on the focus range and the 28mm here are actually in red instead of orange. It's got the classic Leica script on top, just like an M10P, and yeah. So it's just really stylistically, it's different than a standard Q. But build quality is equal between a Q and a QP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the short
I
answer.
think something quick that I just thought about.
Okay.
On any of the cues, can you show quickly the autofocus ring and going into manual? That sometimes people might get confused because it's
Oh, yeah,
autofocus
that's a good
and
one.
Yeah, I showed
they're
this
not-
earlier, but I can
Yeah,
certainly
cover
give
that.
you a,
Cover that there, David.
you got the close up on me still?
There we go. Yeah, fix your hood, bro.
Wrong camera, wrong cue.
Q2.
Yeah, Q2.
Got
Okay.
it. We got it.
And I'll turn it again this way, just so you can see. There we go. Okay. On the bottom, let me turn it this way. There is a focus tab here, but you gotta pay attention. There's a little itty bitty button here. I'm gonna try to get it from the side. Little button right there. Okay. This, when you're set to autofocus, that tab locks in place pretty securely. And if you try to force this, you'll probably break it. You have to actually push the little button in. That will release it from the autofocus position, and then you can turn it manually. And when you set it back to autofocus, it'll click and lock in again. So be aware that that little button is very important to realize that it's there. On top of the camera, okay, I'm going to show you what that behavior looks like. So you'll see here, it says AF for autofocus. When I want to go into manual focus, that's it, okay? And that's true whether you're in the macro function, or which are in now, or in the standard range. You'll see autofocus is still in both positions, okay? So I think that...
Well, the biggest sort of mistake that I see is
not locked in,
is
like
right.
all the way over?
The people will push the
Right.
focus tab all the way to the end and go, wait a minute, my focus isn't working.
Right, see,
But they don't actually fully engage by pressing the tab. And
yeah, you got to press the tab.
yeah,
and
show
then-
how it goes to that last little extra bit.
Sure. Okay, so we show this again, and if
then-
I go over here, it's...
So that's the hard stop of the manual focus.
Yeah.
It's not going to turn anymore
Nope.
until he presses the button on the tab,
Which is right here.
right, and then show him how it fully
And then
engages.
that's it.
It fully engages,
You
right?
see that little click? Just that little bit.
Yes,
Because if you were here, you're not in autofocus.
right. It looks like it may be, but you're not.
Yeah. That's it. Now it's in autofocus. But that's a good one, because that kind of will throw some people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like being between regular and macro mode, being between infinity and autofocus,
Yeah.
sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that little button is there, it's like, it can throw you.
Last question
Oh,
from
we didn't show up the
Kirsten.
diopter either.
That's okay. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead, Jose.
Last question from Kirsten. Does Enzo prefer to be photographed in macro or standard mode?
Where is he? He's passed out. Enzo, come here.
No, he's
What are you doing?
He's
Enzo is passed out.
Oh,
come
here, buddy.
He's coming too.
Oh, we got a face. Yay!
You gotta like it can't be a red dot camera for him.
Oh, what's
Camera
that?
talk without Enzo.
What's that?
Gotta have Enzo.
What's that?
And I'm imagining this message says, "Show Enzo."
Where's my close-up camera? Where's my Enzo? Oh, there's a buddy. Oh, he's mad at me because he's tired.
Everybody
here.
loves Enzo. Oh.
Oh, hi.
So let's see. What does Enzo prefer to be photographed in?
Enzo doesn't like the camera. As you can see, he's turning his head to the camera. There we go. Oh.
Maybe aperture priority and not 1 second exposure. There we go.
There we go. There we go.
Yep. So it's really easy. I can just get in macro mode, and there's no card in this one, but
There's no
Yeah.
card. You're killing me right now.
there you go.
Oh, hi, buddy. Hi. So that's I guess that's the new tradition for ending our live streams with
Enzo. Enzo the golden retriever.
So that was pretty cool. I think we went a little bit longer than
A little
usual.
closer.
Um,
You gotta get a little closer.
oh, not too far with the microphone. We went a bit longer than we usually do. I think this is only going to be a one-part video.
But Q has
so-
a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and it's such a really flexible, cool system
Yeah.
that we wanted to spend time on it, and I can see that, I mean, tons of people are still watching, so.
I do want to mention, of course, David and I are not just faces on the screen. We are both accessible 5 days a week, phone, email. If you have questions about anything we talked about, you don't have to comment on the video if you don't want. You can call me or David or email us.
Yeah.
We are here. We're here every day to answer your guys' questions and help you figure out anything. So, yeah.
So I would say, again, in case you missed the beginning, I have links to a lot of Q-centric resources from Red Dot Forum, both the Red Dot Forum YouTube channel as well as Red Dot Forum website with written content, as well as presets, my Lightroom presets for the Q and the Q2, as well as for all the cameras. There's a link to all that in the description down below. highly recommend you check out some of that content. You know, of course, if you enjoyed the video, we always appreciate a good like. Got to hit that thumbs up. And if you don't like it, just hit the thumbs down button twice, because that tells us that you don't like it even more. That works, right?
Oh yeah, totally works.
Totally works. And of course, subscribe to Reddit Forum YouTube channel and click the little notification bell so you'll know when we do another live stream, which will probably be
Next weekend.
next Saturday. Also, when we post new content for our more structured, long-form produced videos. And, you know, just stay tuned for more.
Yep.
We're here.
We're loving it.
We're loving it, and we're geeking out on all the Leica stuff with you guys. So the engagement's been amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in and kind of giving us something to do on a Saturday night.
Yep, we appreciate it, and we hope that we can continue to answer everybody's questions. I should also mention that you can put this link in there if you haven't already for our newsletter.
Yeah, I can put in email newsletter link. I'll put that in the description just after the video.
So you can keep an eye on what we're up to and the cool stuff we're doing, and you know, the cool accessories and the tidbits like this.
Yeah.
We try to share that with everyone. So
We definitely have to do a video on monochrome. A lot of people are asking about.
we are going to do a monochrome
gonna-
video. I
we're
don't know
gonna
if you
do
guys understand. We can only do one at a time. So we will do monochrome. We will do CL. We will do S.
Yep.
We will do one on macro, hopefully. We'll do one on, I don't even know. I mean,
Maybe Lightroom processing.
anything.
Like
I mean,
whatever.
we'll do one on video, the possibility
Video production. Yeah, so leave it in the comments. You want us to do something,
Yeah, tell us.
tell us. And also, I'll keep an eye once the video gets archived and as a normal video on YouTube. If you want to contribute into those comments, I'll be keeping an eye on them over the next few days. And I'll try to answer every question that comes in terms of if you have some technical stuff that we didn't get to, I'm happy to answer you in the comments.
Absolutely.
And
All right, we did it.
We're here for you. We
Well,
survived.
past 10 o'clock. This is a record for us.
This is right. And we didn't even talk about video.
No, we didn't talk about anything.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
what have we have so
How
much
did
more
we
to
go
cover.
over time without going over video?
Unbelievable.
This
All
is
right.
already-
We did it.
Anyway, we're signing off from Josh, Jose,
Hey.
myself, David. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and we will see you in the next video.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.